Chapter 1462. Many people were very interested in the items that the true martial temple had taken out this time. Many people, such as Murongyu, swore to get their hands on those pills. However, many people were more curious about what the true martial temple had obtained from the ancient ruins. The people present weren't idiots. They didn't believe that the items that the true martial temple had taken out were all that they had obtained from the ancient ruins. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't have done so. Since they dared to take out the items, it was very likely that they had taken out some unimportant items. When did the true martial temple enter the ancient ruins? I'm afraid that they have a big harvest this time, right? No, I have to send this news back immediately. Many people were thinking in their hearts, and some people had already sent the news back. The exchange will officially begin tomorrow. The first item is alchemy and the second item is refining. The martial arts competition will be last. Today, in addition to allowing everyone to enjoy these rare fruits, the young talents can also interact with each other. However, the competition will be limited. As soon as the Holy Heaven Elder finished speaking, his figure flashed and disappeared. However, a few elders of the primal chaos ancestor Saint Realm also appeared. This was the prelude to the exchange, or it could be said that it was a warm-up for the exchange. Challenge. Regardless of the force, anyone could accept a challenge. The person being challenged could also refuse any challenge. However, under such circumstances, no one would refuse a challenge. After all, standing here today wasn't just representing themselves, but also the force behind them. If they didn't accept a challenge, they wouldn't only be losing face, but also the force behind them. Although there wouldn't be any rewards for the challenge at this time. However, many people enjoyed it and never tired of it, especially the forces outside the 10 Great Holy Land. If they defeated the disciples of the 10 Great Holy Lands, then they would be glorious. However, if they were defeated, there was nothing to be ashamed of. After all, the other party was a disciple of the 10 Great Holy Land. This was the time for the young talents of the other sects to become famous. Therefore, after the Holy Heaven Elder left, some people jumped out and began to challenge. However, those who made the first move were some low-level disciples. Imperishable Realm, Profound Sage. The highest was the Saint King Realm. The primal chaos ancestor saints hadn't appeared yet. Murongyu, I challenge you. Just as Murongyu was eating heartily, a thunderous sound suddenly rang in his ears. Murongyu smiled faintly and looked over. Then, a look of surprise flashed across his face. He originally thought that the first person to challenge him would be a disciple of the true martial temple, but it didn't seem to be the case. That person seemed to be a disciple of the cloud-piercing island. When Murongyu entered the square, he was the first youth to look down on him. Chao Lin stood in the square, coldly looking at Murongyu. He saw that Murongyu was still sitting on the chair and looking at him coldly. Chao Lin couldn't help but fly into a rage. Murongyu, you coward, don't you dare to accept my challenge? Didn't you say that you were very powerful? He was able to suppress the ancient saints of the true martial sacred hall with his imperishable realm strength. I think you only have an undeserved reputation, right? Hearing this, Murongyu didn't have any thoughts, but the people of the true martial sacred hall were furious. One by one, they glared at Chao Lin, wanting to slap him into the depths of the ground. Was this guy insulting Murongyu or insulting the true martial sacred hall? He was clearly insulting both Murongyu and the true martial sacred hall. Killing two birds with one stone. Not far behind the square, Duan Guang, who was supposed to be imprisoned in the dark wind cave, burst into tears after hearing Chao Lin's words. Brother, if you want to suppress Murongyu, then just do it, but why do you have to bring me along? How am I supposed to endure this? Profound Sage? After taking a bite of an unknown fruit in his hand, Murongyu slowly stood up, then looked at Chao Lin with disdain. Chao Lin instantly flew into a rage. Murongyu, if you don't dare to accept my challenge, then forget it. The infernal Tao is nothing more than this. What head of the 10 great holy lands? I think it's not even the last. A cold, murderous intent flashed in the depths of Murong Yu's eyes, and he smiled faintly. You want to challenge me? Nonsense. Chao Lin looked at Murong Yu with disdain, his face filled with displeasure. Sure, but I've never accepted a challenge from an unimportant person. How about this? If you take out a saint-grade sacred artifact, I will accept your challenge. Otherwise, go play. You. Chao Lin was angry. He was just a profound sage. Although his aptitude wasn't bad, and he could be considered a genius disciple of the Piercing Cloud Island. But where did he have a saint-grade sacred artifact? That was a sacred artifact that only Saint Kings had. Moreover, even Saint Kings didn't necessarily have a saint-grade sacred artifact. You don't have one? Murong Yu's face instantly turned cold. If you don't have a saint-grade sacred artifact, why do you want to challenge me? Is the Piercing Cloud Island so poor that they can't even take out a saint-grade sacred artifact? Chao Lin's face turned white and blue. He couldn't wait to rush over and slap Murong Yu to death. It's just a saint-grade sacred artifact. Chao Lin, this is your saint-grade sacred artifact. An elder of the Piercing Cloud Island coldly shouted, and threw a saint-grade sacred artifact over. Seeing the saint-grade sacred artifact, Murong Yu suddenly smiled. With a sway of his body, he disappeared from where he stood. He appeared in front of Chao Lin. Chao Lin gritted his teeth and looked at Murong Yu. Wait, where is your saint-grade sacred artifact? Murong Yu smiled faintly. Isn't it just a saint-grade sacred artifact? We have a lot of infernal affairs. While talking, a saint-grade sacred artifact appeared in Murong Yu's hand, exuding a huge pressure. Elder, I hope you can be a notary. The winner will get this sacred artifact. Chao Lin bowed to an elder of the true martial temple on the edge of the square and handed over the saint-grade sacred artifact. The elder nodded slightly, glanced at Murong Yu and Chao Lin with an indifferent expression, and put away the 2 sacred artifacts. Are you ready to die? Chao Lin turned his head and looked at Murong Yu with a grim smile. Murong Yu shook his head and pointed a finger at Chao Lin. One move. I only need one move to defeat you. Chao Lin was furious. I also only need one move to defeat you. Chao Lin was really angry. He was infuriated by Murong Yu's arrogance. However, what he didn't know was that Murong Yu wasn't being arrogant. He was just telling the truth. It was just that by the time he understood, it was already too late. Piercing Cloud Palm. Chao Lin roared and quickly struck out with his palm, causing the sky to shatter and the earth to shatter. A terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth erupted as it fiercely covered Murong Yu. This Chao Lin's strength isn't bad. Although he is only a high-level profound sage, the power of his palm can already threaten low-level ancient sages. I'm afraid that first-level ancient sages won't be able to resist it. Sure enough, he's worthy of being a genius disciple of the 10 Holy Lands. His strength is formidable. The battle between the disciples of the 2 Holy Lands naturally attracted a lot of attention. As soon as Chao Lin made his move, the surrounding experts were able to see his true strength. One move. Facing Chao Lin's earth-shattering palm, Murong Yu didn't panic and once again pointed a finger. However, this finger attack enraged Chao Lin even more. In a split second, Chao Lin's attack had already enveloped Murong Yu's entire body. However, Murong Yu still didn't move. It was as if he was scared silly. However, just as Chao Lin's attack was about to land on Murong Yu's body. At this time, Murong Yu suddenly struck out with his palm. Asterisk bang. Asterisk a muffled sound that wasn't loud but shook the entire audience suddenly spread. At the same time, everyone saw a black shadow fly out like a kite with a broken string. It's Chao Lin. Everyone quickly saw the person who flew out. It was Chao Lin. He was defeated with a single palm. As expected, Murong Yu wasn't arrogant. Plop! Chao Lin fell heavily to the ground, causing the ground to shake. How is this possible? I don't believe it, Chow Lin roared. Then, no one knew whether it was because he was angry or because he was injured by Morongyu, but he spat out a mouthful of blood. In the next moment, his eyes rolled back and he actually fainted. On the other side, Morongyu calmly retracted his hand and turned to look at the expressionless elder from True Martial Temple. He said indifferently, "Elder, can you give me these 2 Saint-grade Saint artifacts now?" The elder from True Martial Temple didn't say anything. He just raised his hand and handed the 2 Saint-grade Saint artifacts to Morongyu. Not bad. I only used 1 palm to get a Saint-grade Saint artifact. Morongyu nodded in satisfaction and kept the 2 Saint-grade Saint artifacts in the Hichu Luoshu world. At this moment, the people in the square were still in shock and hadn't reacted yet. This kid is so fast and so strong. It seems that his ability to suppress ancient saints isn't just for show. Some of the stronger people had already seen Morongyu's strength, but it was because of this that they were shocked. There weren't many people in the history of the Holy World who could surpass their strength by 2 realms. This person is so terrifying. If he grows up, I'm afraid. Some of the elders and experts' eyes flickered with cold light and murderous intent. They had a strong desire to kill Morongyu. The stronger Morongyu was, the greater the threat he posed to them. Especially those from True Martial Temple, those experts couldn't help but want to kill Morongyu. Wait. Just as Morongyu was about to return, a thunderous voice suddenly rang out. At the same time, another person appeared in the square. Morongyu, I want to challenge you. This is my Saint-grade Saint artifact. The person who came was a young man with a sinister face. As he spoke, he threw a Saint-grade Saint artifact to the elder from True Martial Temple. You're a disciple from Cloud-Piercing Island? 2 Saint-grade Saint artifact. Morongyu turned around and said indifferently. You. The disciple from Cloud-Piercing Island couldn't help but be furious. You don't have it? Go back to where you came from. Morongyu smiled faintly and turned to leave. Chapter 1463. Wait! As soon as Morongyu turned around, the disciple from Cloud-Piercing Island gritted his teeth and shouted. At the same time, he took out a Saint-grade Saint artifact from his storage ring and handed it to the elder from True Martial Temple. However, looking at his pained expression, it seemed like he wanted nothing more than to tear Morongyu in half. Was Morongyu really that greedy? This was blatant extortion. At the same cultivation level, they only needed 1 Saint-grade Saint artifact. Now it had become 3. What if a third person challenged them? Wouldn't they need 3 Saint-grade Saint artifacts? However, not to mention 2 Saint-grade Saint artifacts, even if it was 20 Saint-grade Saint artifacts, the disciples from Cloud-Piercing Island would still have to take them out. Otherwise, Cloud-Piercing Island could no longer stay in the Holy World. If they didn't take them out, their disciples wouldn't be able to take revenge and suppress Morongyu. In this way, wouldn't they be telling the world that Cloud-Piercing Island was inferior to the Unbroken Tao? Wouldn't they be telling the world that the hundreds of disciples from Cloud-Piercing Island were scared off by Morongyu? Moreover, if the disciples from Cloud-Piercing Island couldn't take out Saint-grade Saint artifacts, it wouldn't be as simple as Cloud-Piercing Island being stingy. It would be Cloud-Piercing Island being unable to take them out. In this way, who would join Cloud-Piercing Island? If they couldn't even take out Saint-grade Saint artifacts, what was the point of joining such a sacred ground? Moreover, if the disciples from Cloud-Piercing Island were unwilling to part with Saint-grade Saint artifacts, it would give the wrong impression that they were afraid of losing, afraid that they weren't a match for Morongyu. Otherwise, if they were confident, they would even dare to take out a Saint-grade Saint artifact. After all, after defeating Morongyu, wouldn't these Saint artifacts belong to them? Moreover, they would still make a profit. Therefore, even if Morongyu asked for an exorbitant price, Cloud-Piercing Island would still take out Saint artifact. However, Morongyu wouldn't ask for an exorbitant price. Casting a long line to catch a big fish, Morong-yu smiled as he looked at the disciple from Cloud-Piercing Island. His eyes were filled with joy. It was as if the other party wasn't here to challenge him, but to give him saint artifacts. In fact, Morong-yu really thought that the other party was here to give him saint artifacts. Go back. You are no match for me, Morong-yu said indifferently. The Cloud-Piercing Island's disciple roared in anger. He took a step forward and rushed in front of Morong-yu. Then, he threw out a quick and violent punch. One move. Morong-yu pointed a finger at him. The complexion of the Piercing Cloud Island's disciple instantly turned ashen. He felt that Morong-yu was insulting him. How arrogant! Seeing Morong-yu's behavior, everyone in the square, except for the 3 men from the Infernal Branch, felt that Morong-yu was too arrogant. This was especially true for those who had enmity with Morong-yu. For example, the disciples of Piercing Cloud Island and True Martial Temple were glaring at Morong-yu with fire in their eyes. The more arrogant Morong-yu was and the more in the limelight, the more unhappy they were. Therefore, whether it was the people of True Martial Temple or Piercing Cloud Island, they all hoped that the disciple of Piercing Cloud Island would be able to knock down Morong-yu with a single punch, then ruthlessly trample him on the ground and humiliate him. However, they were destined to be disappointed. *Pa. Some low-level disciples couldn't even see how Morong-yu attacked. The Piercing Cloud Island's disciple let out a scream as he was sent flying. During this process, they saw that half of the Piercing Cloud Island's disciple's face had been smashed by Morong-yu. What's going on? These people were shocked and didn't know what was going on. Morong-yu's speed is really fast. I'm afraid that his strength is comparable to that of a high-level ancient sage. He slapped that Piercing Cloud Island's disciple's face. At this time, a powerful expert who had seen Morong-yu's attack explained. Isn't that Piercing Cloud Island's disciple a peak profound sage, a first-step ancient sage? But he couldn't even resist Morong-yu's move? Is Morong-yu's strength really that terrifying? No one answered this person's question, because the truth was right in front of them. They had all seen it with their own eyes. I don't accept this. The Piercing Cloud Island's disciple quickly got up from the ground, and his smashed face also recovered. However, he still roared unwillingly. He was still in a daze and couldn't see Morong-yu's attack clearly. As he spoke, he took a step forward and threw a punch at Morong-yu with earth-shattering might. A cold light flashed in Morong-yu's eyes, and a cold look flashed on his face. Just now, he hadn't killed him and had only smashed the other party's face. Although he had trampled on the other party's dignity, he hadn't killed him after all, hadn't he? But now that this person didn't admit defeat and didn't hand over more sacred artifacts, he felt embarrassed. Come back. Just as Morong-yu's killing intent was stirred and he was about to attack, a chilling voice rang out from the Cloud-Piercing Island. At the same time, a monstrous hand appeared out of thin air, grabbed the Piercing Cloud Island's disciple, and brought him back. Although Morong-yu's killing intent was very vague, the powerhouses still felt it. Those who could come to the True Martial Temple to participate in the exchange were all geniuses among geniuses of their respective forces. These people could be defeated, but they absolutely couldn't be killed. Who knew if these people would become powerhouses on the level of primal chaos ancestor sages in the future, or even a supreme? Therefore, an elder of the Piercing Cloud Island immediately took action. Very good, 2 profound sages' junior brothers are not your opponents. You are very strong. I heard that you can suppress an ancient sage? Even an ancient sage of the True Martial Temple was suppressed by you. Now I will test whether you are as strong as the rumors say. At the same time that profound sage disciple of the Piercing Cloud Island was taken back, an ancient sage disciple of the Piercing Cloud Island stepped out of the crowd and looked at Morong-yu indifferently. Morong-yu took the 2 sage-rank sacred tools from the True Martial Temple's elder, then looked at the Piercing Cloud Island's ancient sage with a smile. Someone is here to deliver a sacred tool. Murong-yu suddenly had this thought. Therefore, his smile became even brighter. Murong-yu had always been very amiable towards people who delivered sacred tools. I won't take advantage of you. You can rest for a while and recover your strength first. Oh, since you are so greedy, you should be giving 4 sage rank sacred tools this time, right? The Piercing Cloud Island's ancient sage took out 4 sage rank sacred tools and was about to hand them over to the true martial temple's elder. Murong-yu, who had a bright smile on his face, suddenly turned cold. Who said I wanted 4 sage rank sacred tools? The Piercing Cloud Island's ancient sage's face suddenly became gloomy. 8 then. Who said I wanted sage rank sacred tools? If you want to challenge me, you have to take out an ancestral weapon. Otherwise, you can go back. Ancestral weapon. In an instant, the entire place fell silent. Everyone stared at Murong-yu with their mouths agape. This guy really dares to open his mouth like a lion. He actually wants an ancestral weapon. That's an ancestral weapon, not a low sage rank sacred tool. There are so many ancestral sages in the holy world. How many of them have an ancestral weapon? Some of the primal chaos ancestral sages only use ancestral weapons. Murong-yu must be crazy. This thought appeared in the minds of countless people. Crunch, Yuyangjia, who had been eating a fruit, immediately bit off more than half of the fruit in his hand when he heard Murong-yu's words. He almost choked. Little junior brother, you are really good. Yuyangjia was stunned. He didn't even know how to describe Murong-yu. In the end, he could only say that Murong-yu was good. The face of the cloud-piercing island's ancient sage turned black, then green and finally red. Finally, he roared, Murong-yu, why don't you go die? The heavens took pity on him. Although he was a genius disciple of the cloud-piercing island, he only had 1 sage rank sacred tool. He had seen an ancestral weapon before, but he had never touched one. Murong-yu actually wanted an ancestral weapon. He really dared to ask for it. Murong-yu smiled at the cloud-piercing island's ancient sage. At the same time, he glanced at the cloud-piercing island's people. These people's expressions were very interesting. Some were angry, some were shocked, and some were gloomy. All of them stared fiercely at Murong-yu, gnashing their teeth. However, Murong-yu knew that they would definitely take out this ancestral weapon. This was because Murong-yu had defeated the cloud-piercing island's disciples twice in a row with only 1 move. The cloud-piercing island's disciples would definitely come out to take revenge. Otherwise, the cloud-piercing island's reputation would plummet. This was not something the cloud-piercing island could afford. Sure enough, an elder of the cloud-piercing island stood up, looked at Murong-yu indifferently, and said in a cold voice, I'll help him take out this ancestral weapon. At the same time, he took out a sacred tool that exuded an incomparably huge aura. The sacred tool flickered with an intense light, almost blinding Murong-yu's eyes. Although he didn't know what grade of ancestral weapon it was definitely an ancestral weapon. With these sage rank sacred tools and ancestral weapons, I won't have any problems breaking through to the profound sage realm. Murong-yu pondered in his heart, a smile appearing on his face. Murong-yu was determined to get the 3-revolution profound earth pill. However, although he was strong, there were still geniuses in the 10 holy lands who could kill enemies above their realm. It didn't need too many, just 1 realm. Once they reached the Sage King realm, Murong-yu wouldn't be their opponent. However, once Murong-yu broke through to the profound Sage realm, he wouldn't need to fear Sage King realm powerhouses. The cloud-piercing island's act of gifting him treasures increased Murong-yu's confidence in winning the championship. Do you still need to rest? The cloud-piercing island's ancient sage gritted his teeth as he looked at Murong-yu. Murong-yu shook his head. Boom! Just as Murong-yu shook his head, the cloud-piercing island's ancient saint impatiently sent a punch out. The punch shattered the sky and earth, shattering the void as it erupted with a frightening aura capable of destroying the world. It locked onto Murong-yu and blasted towards him. He wanted to kill Murong-yu with a single punch. Feeling the other party's killing intent, Murong-yu's figure flickered as he took a step back. Then, he pointed at the other party and said, "Same move." Puff! At this moment, countless people burst out laughing. Profound sages and ancient sages were all in one move. Did this guy think he was a sage king? Chapter 1464. Everyone was amused by Murong-yu's arrogance. They all felt that it was impossible for Murong-yu to have such terrifying strength. After all, Murong-yu was just an undead sage. Defeating a prime sage in one move? If he was a peak prime sage or a sage king, it might be possible, but now? It was simply impossible. However, while everyone was sneering in their hearts, they were also looking forward to it. Murong-yu's previous performance was real. What if he could really defeat this prime sage with one punch? Therefore, everyone's eyes were glued to Murong-yu's side. In fact, some of the people fighting in the plaza had also stopped in tacit understanding and turned to look at Murong-yu. The prime sage from Cloud-Piercing Island was flushed red, provoked by Murong-yu's arrogance. Cloud-piercing great art! The prime sage's heart erupted as he displayed the Cloud-Piercing Island's secret technique. An incomparably terrifying power erupted from his body, surging in all directions like a torrent. At this moment, layers of white clouds appeared in the sky. These white clouds were not real white clouds, but condensed from the prime sage's power. Each white cloud was equivalent to the prime sage's full-strength attack. They whistled, tearing through the void and strangling down. Thousand Army Elephant pulling fist. Murong-yu didn't seem to have done anything, but he simply sent out a punch. Fast. So fast. Extremely fast. When Murong-yu punched out, most of the people in the square could not see how Murong-yu did it. They only saw a phantom flash in front of their eyes. When facing the challenge of two profound sages, Murong-yu's speed was already fast enough. But when his opponent became a prime sage, his speed was still terrifying. The prime sage from Cloud-Piercing Island only saw a phantom flash, and then his heart was enveloped by an incomparably strong aura of danger. Immediately, he was greatly shocked. However, his attack did not stop, and he continued to bombard Murong-yu at an incomparably fast speed. So what if Murong-yu was fast? Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. That was what he was thinking. Bang! However, before his fist could land on Murong-yu's body, all of a sudden, Murong-yu disappeared into thin air. In fact, Murong-yu did not disappear. Instead, he had already appeared in front of him. At the same time, Murong-yu's fist had already landed heavily on the ancient sage's chest. After the muffled explosion, the Cloud-Piercing Island's ancient sage heard the crisp sound of bones breaking. At the same time, a sharp pain rushed to his brain. Immediately after, Gu Xing saw his body, which was originally charging forward, suddenly fly backward. The distance between him and Murong-yu was getting farther and farther. Crackle! At the same time that the ancient saint was sent flying, a series of thunderbolts gushed into his body in a frenzy, wreaking havoc within his body and tearing everything apart. Silence. Shocking. Everyone was shocked. There was an incomparable silence. One could hear a pin drop. Each and every one of them turned to look at the indifferent Murong-yu. Is he really an imperishable stage sage? Not a sage ruler or an ancestral sage. How can he be so powerful? He actually defeated an ancient saint with a single punch. This is the strength of someone who is 2 major realms above him. And it's not an ordinary feat of defeating an ancient saint with a single punch. He must be at least 2 minor realms above the ancient saint to have such strength, right? What a freak. Everyone looked at Murong-yu as if they were looking at a freak. They were inexplicably shocked and incomparably horrified. What terrifying strength! This person must die. Some sect elders and inner sect disciples also looked at Murong-yu. They had to admit that they had indeed underestimated him. Murong-yu's strength had exceeded their expectations. They all felt that even a high-level ancient saint might not be a match for him. Such a heaven-defying existence was not one of them. They must not let him live. Every expert's eyes flickered with a dangerous light as they looked at Murong Yu as if they were looking at a dead man. Oh no, Junior Brother's performance is too heaven-defying. He has already aroused the killing intent of those people. They are best at killing the geniuses of other sections. Lu Xiankai frowned slightly and transmitted his voice to Yu Yangjia and Wu Xinshui with a gloomy expression. Junior Brother's strength is heaven-defying. Even if he doesn't show it today, he will show it on other occasions. We can't hide his brilliance. It's only a matter of time before he is remembered. Moreover, as long as he doesn't die prematurely, Junior Brother's future achievements will be even greater. Yu Yangjia's eyes flickered with wisdom as he said lightly. Lu Xiankai and Wu Xinshui were stunned, then nodded. They both felt that Yu Yangjia was right. However, even so, they could not hide the worry in their eyes. This is Murong Yu, a disciple of the Infernal Society. He should be a disciple of our true martial temple. The outer palace and inner palace disciples of the true martial temple reacted after recovering from their shock. It's all those bastards' fault. If they didn't suppress Murong Yu, why would Murong Yu betray the true martial temple? If it wasn't for this, he would still be a disciple of our true martial temple. We would feel honored if he showed off his strength here. But now we only feel shame. Their aptitude and talent are inferior to others, so they use their own forces to suppress a newcomer. Damn it, those big shots are just like that. They are narrow-minded and short-sighted. The outer palace disciples of the true martial temple, and even the inner palace disciples, cursed in their hearts. The outer palace disciples were fine. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. However, the inner palace disciples were cursing loudly. Any inner palace disciple's identity was much higher than the big shots of the outer palace. They could scold him without any restraint. At this moment, the big shots of the true martial temple gathered together with a gloomy face. Jun glanced at the other 6 people with a gloomy face. Everyone saw that Murong Yu showed off his strength again. There are already many voices in the sect accusing us of suppressing him, causing him to betray the true martial temple. Although we are the big shots of the outer palace and are at the peak of the ancient sage realm. But which one of you is confident that you can defeat him in battle strength? Huiyang and the others fell silent. Murong Yu's strength was too abnormal, so they were not confident. We are the big shots of the outer palace in alchemy and weapon refining. When we suppressed Murong Yu before, the sect cooperated with us because they didn't see the value of Murong Yu. Murong Yu is inferior to us, but now we all see that Murong Yu's aptitude is extremely heaven-defying. I'm sure the sect is already complaining. So what if he only knows how to rely on brute force? We just need to defeat him in alchemy and weapon refining. As long as we prove that he is not as valuable as us, why would the sect blame us for a traitor? Wen Lin said with a sneer. He was one of the 3 weapon refining grandmasters of the outer palace. His status was extraordinary. Sun Luan nodded and said with a cold face, "That's right. We need to suppress Murong Yu ruthlessly. Weapon refining and alchemy are not things that can be done with just strength. As long as we step into the Saint King realm, we will be able to refine higher-grade saint weapons and pills. Murong Yu will not be able to catch up to us. Moreover, the piercing cloud island will definitely not allow Murong Yu to continue living in this world. Don't worry too much." The 6 big shots of the outer palace were discussing how to suppress Murong Yu. Murong Yu did not know about this. Even if he knew, he would not take it to heart. Those so-called big shots were just demons and monsters in his eyes. They were not even worthy opponents. Rumor has it that the piercing cloud island is very generous. Today I see that it is indeed so. Not only did you give me a few saint-level saint weapons, you even gave me an ancestral weapon. I really have to thank you. Murong Yu said loudly as he played with the ancestral weapon in his hand. Pooh! The piercing Cloud Island's ancient saint, who was originally sitting cross-legged on the side of the square to expel the lightning energy from his body, was now violently coughing up blood. His mind was in chaos, and he could no longer suppress the lightning energy in his body, causing his injuries to become even more serious. In the end, one of the piercing Cloud Island's Saint Kings could not watch any longer and took the ancient saint back. "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? Just one ancestral weapon is enough." Murong-yu put away the ancestral weapon into the Hichu Luoshu, then glanced at the square and said loudly. The 9 great holy lands and the other powers all fell silent. Although their eyes were spitting fire, no one dared to make a move. Murong-yu's strength was obvious to all. If they went out again, not only would they lose face, but they would also continue to give Murong-yu ancestral weapons. Even they wouldn't do such a foolish thing. If worst comes to worst, we'll wait until we leave the true martial sacred hall and kill Murong-yu. Some people's faces were gloomy as they thought to themselves. Senior brothers of the piercing Cloud Island, you all seem to have a lot of opinions about me. Is there no one else who wants to make a move? Seeing that no one wanted to make a move, Murong-yu turned to look at the piercing Cloud Island's disciples. The piercing Cloud Island's disciples and elders were so angry that their eyes were spitting fire. "I'll go kill him." Finally, under Murong-yu's arrogance, a youth who had been silent all this time suddenly stood up and was about to go kill Murong-yu. "Feng Xian, sit down." Just as the young man stood up, a large hand pressed down on his shoulder and pressed him back into the chair. It was one of the piercing Cloud Island's elders, the primal Chaos Ancestor Sage. "Your mission is to take first place in the exchange." "But this bastard is too hateful," Feng Xian said angrily. "Junior martial brother, just kill him in the martial arts arena in a few days. Let him be arrogant for a few days," an inner island disciple from the piercing Cloud Island said indifferently. But as he spoke, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. If they weren't in the true martial sacred hall, he definitely wouldn't have cared about his status and directly suppressed Murong-yu. Chapter 1465. For a while, no one came out to challenge Murong-yu. One of the reasons was that they were all stunned by Murong-yu's strength. Some of the experts who had the strength to surpass their realm were held down by their elders, not allowing them to come out. Although they had lost face now, as long as they defeated Murong-yu in a few days, it would be fine. In a few days it would be a fierce battle. Once their trump cards were exposed, it wouldn't be worth it. Moreover, Murong-yu was only in the imperishable realm. In a holy land like the true martial temple, imperishable realm, profound sage, and ancient sage realm sages were only outer disciples. Those who could challenge Murong-yu were only sages of these 3 realms. If a sage king challenged Murong-yu, Murong-yu could reasonably refuse, and no one would say anything. On the contrary, the sage king who challenged Murong-yu would be laughed at. It was precisely because of these reasons that no one continued to challenge Murong-yu. However, there were still many people who gnashed their teeth and glared at Murong-yu, thinking about how to beat Murong-yu in a few days. In this regard, Murong-yu was quite depressed. In the end, Murong-yu returned to his seat with a gloomy expression. Seeing Murong-yu's gloomy expression, many people in the plaza felt their teeth itch with hatred. "Little junior brother, didn't you defeat those opponents in one move? And the harvest was great, why are you still so depressed?" As soon as Murong-yu returned to his seat, Wu Xinshui asked with a strange expression. Murong-yu shook his head. "It was only one ancestral artifact. I originally thought that I would be able to obtain a dozen ancestral artifacts this time. But those people were all cowards, not daring to come out and challenge me." While speaking, Murong-yu's face was full of disdain. Angry. Murong-yu was a classic example of taking advantage of others and acting innocent. They were really angered to death. Yu Yangjia and the other 2 were also quite speechless. In the following time, the challenges continued. It was just the disciples of other forces challenging each other. Apart from the seamless path, all the other disciples were either actively or passively challenging them. However, none of the Infernal Society's disciples dared to continue the challenge. This was because 2 of the 4 members of the Seamless Society were Primal Chaos Ancestral Saints, while one of them was a Peak Ancestral Saint. Who would challenge such a person? Even if he wanted to defeat Yu Yangjia and the others, today was not a good time. Let's leave it for the martial arts competition in a few days. Some of the geniuses were shining brightly in the battle. However, he was far from being as heaven-defying as Murong-Yu. In fact, under the absolute radiance of Murong-Yu, these so-called geniuses were all overshadowed. If not for Murong-Yu's previous performance, these people would undoubtedly be quite outstanding. This caused many geniuses to be secretly unhappy with Murong-Yu, and they began to hate him. After watching for a while, Murong-Yu still did not wait for anyone to challenge him. Bored to death, he left the square with Yu Yangjia and the others and returned to their temporary residence. After returning, Lu Xiankai asked with concern, "Little junior brother, tomorrow is the artifact refining conference. Are you confident?" The Seamless Path had never participated in these so-called exchanges. Apart from not having the intention to participate, it was also related to the fact that the Seamless Path did not have any artifact refining or alchemy geniuses. Since their master wanted them to participate in this year's exchange, they naturally wanted to obtain first place. Either they did not participate or they wanted to get first place. If you don't pay attention to the grade of the Saint artifact, I am confident. Murong-Yu said lightly, but full of confidence. Limited by his own strength, he was unable to refine high-grade Saint artifacts. However, if it was only about Saint artifact formations, he had absolute confidence. In that case, we won't disturb little junior brother. Have a good rest tonight. Yu Yangjia waved his hand and left with Lu Xiankai and the others. After the 3 left, Murong-Yu's figure flashed and entered the Hichu Luoshu. Although the true martial sacred hall guaranteed Murong-Yu's safety in the true martial sacred mountain, there was still a chance. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. If something unexpected were to happen, Murong-Yu would really want to cry. His own treasure space was still the safest. Although artifact refining and alchemy only compare Saint artifact formations and alchemy. The more formations a Saint artifact of the same grade contains, the more profound the method. The higher the alchemy compatibility, the more powerful it is. However, if you can refine a higher grade Saint artifact or alchemy with a higher alchemy compatibility, then your method will be even more profound. Murong-Yu continued to think in his heart. However, saints of the eternal stage can generally only refine high-grade Saint artifacts. A few powerful artifact refiners who are lucky may be able to refine top-grade Saint artifact. After a while, Murong-Yu decided and put a Saint artifact in front of him. In that case, I'll simply raise my strength to the profound sage realm. His strength had already reached the peak of the eternal stage, and he was only one step away from breaking through and reaching the profound sage realm. However, after reaching this realm, Murong-Yu had a feeling in his heart. If he continued to refine top-grade Saint artifacts now, it would basically not help him improve his realm. Therefore, he gave up on refining a supreme-grade Saint artifact and went straight to refining a Saint-grade Saint artifact. Once I break through to the profound sage realm, then I will have the strength to compete with low-level Saint Kings. Murong-Yu said somewhat gloomily. He should be happy that his strength improved and became more and more powerful. However, if he wanted to become even more powerful in the future, he would have to refine Saint artifacts, which made him feel a bit of a headache. Primal Chaos Furnace, refine it for me. Murong-Yu opened his mouth and directly swallowed the Saint artifact into his stomach, and then transferred it to the Primal Chaos Furnace. Suddenly, the Primal Chaos Furnace shook slightly, and the indestructible Saint artifact was instantly refined into a mass of pure primitive power. Rumble. A torrent of power poured into Murong Yu's body out of thin air. As a result, Murong Yu's strength began to soar rapidly. Peak of the Eternal Stage, First Step Profound Sage, Half Step Profound Sage. Murong Yu's realm was promoted to Half Step Profound Sage realm in a short period of time. However, at this time, Murong Yu was depressed, because the power of the Saint artifact had been consumed. It was actually unable to break through the realm barrier. The more profound one's accumulation was, the more abnormal one's strength was, and the more difficult it was to break through the realm. If the barrier between an ordinary peak eternal stage expert and a profound sage realm was regarded as a thin film, then Murong Yu's barrier was 100 times, or even 1,000 times, thicker. It was quite difficult for ordinary profound sages to break through that thin barrier, but for Murong Yu, it would be 100 times, or even 1,000 times more difficult than those people. In fact, this was because of the primal chaos furnace. The primal chaos furnace was supposed to ignore the realm barrier. However, Murong Yu's accumulation was too profound, and his strength was too abnormal. Therefore, there was a barrier. Without the primal chaos furnace, Murong Yu's realm barrier might be even more terrifying, and it might even be 10,000 times that of an ordinary person. Second Saint Artifact, refine it for me. Although Murong Yu felt a headache, he did not hesitate to refine the Second Saint Artifact. To some forces, a Saint-grade sacred artifact was already at the level of a sect guardian treasure. But to Murong Yu, it was nothing more than a source of strength. Boom! Not long after, the realm within Murong Yu's body finally exploded. At this moment, an inexplicable force appeared in Murong Yu's body out of thin air. It began to widen his meridians, tempering his body and bones. It even refined his bloodline. After every breakthrough, this inexplicable force would appear. It was not only Murong Yu, but also others. Although it had only been a few breaths of time, Murong Yu's meridians had been widened by 10 times, and they were tougher than before. They could withstand a greater force and withstand a greater impact. Moreover, his flesh, bones, and so on had also been strengthened a little. This was especially true for his bloodline. His blood was the same as other life forms. It was originally bright red. But at this time, it had become dim. It was not accurate to say that it had become dim. It had become black. However, at the same time, the power contained in Murong Yu's blood became even greater. With the power contained in his blood now, a drop of his blood could kill an undying saint. And the blood of an ordinary profound saint would probably only injure an ordinary saint. Now I feel a powerful force. Even a first-level holy king can be killed directly. Murong Yu clenched his fists and felt the surging power in his body. His face was full of confidence. The profound saint realm had the strength comparable to a first-level holy king. Coupled with his physical body that had reached the level of a high saint artifact, as well as various other combat skills and treasures, his combat power had even surpassed a first-level holy king. However, there was no lack of geniuses in the 10 great holy lands who could kill enemies above their level. There were still people whose combat power surpassed that of a low-level holy king. Murong Yu was not arrogant. In the following time, he began to consolidate his realm. At the same time, he familiarized himself with his new power and improved his various combat skills. In particular, if he could continue to improve the 9 symbolic words, Murong Yu's overall combat power would be even more terrifying. After consolidating his strength and practicing various combat skills, Murong Yu stopped. With a thought, various refining materials appeared in front of him out of thin air. After reaching the profound saint realm, Murong Yu could refine a top-grade saint artifact. Before the refining convention, he had to master the ability to refine a top-grade saint artifact. Moreover, he had to refine a top-grade saint artifact with 19,999 formations with a 100% success rate. Only in this way could he be sure of victory. Under the situation of time acceleration, one top-grade saint artifact after another was refined by Murong Yu. In the beginning, there were over 10,000 formations, but in the end, there were 19,999 formations. Chapter 1466. A day later, Murong Yu came out of the Hichu Luoshu world. Little junior brother, you broke through again? When Yu Yangjia and the others saw Murong Yu, the three of them were shocked. The three of them were much stronger than Murong Yu, and because Murong Yu didn't hide his realm, they could see at a glance that Murong Yu had successfully broken through to the First Order Profound Sage. It was just a small breakthrough, nothing to be surprised about. With the status and strength of Yu Yangjia and the others, they had seen too many people break through. But Murong Yu's breakthrough speed was too terrifying. Before entering Wenzhen's secret realm, Murong Yu was only at the Third Order Undead realm. Then, in less than a few years, Murong Yu's strength soared from the Third Order Undead realm to the First Order Profound Sage. This kind of breakthrough speed was simply unprecedented and would never be surpassed in the future. I believe that little junior brother's strength will soon catch up to us. Yu Yangjia and the others looked at each other and saw the same thoughts in each other's eyes. Murong Yu smiled. I just casually cultivated last night, I didn't expect to break through. Hearing this, Wu Xinshui's face darkened. Casually cultivated and you broke through? If it was really so easy, then there wouldn't be so few top powerhouses in the Holy World. In the square, there were people everywhere, disciples of the true martial temple and other forces. It was even more lively than yesterday. When Murong Yu's group of 4 entered the plaza, they naturally attracted the attention of the crowd. Look, that's Murong Yu. He's very strong, and I heard that his refining ability is also very heaven-defying. I wonder if he can laugh proudly in the martial world today and trample all the refining geniuses under his feet? Although he's strong, his refining ability isn't necessarily heaven-defying. Just wait and see. I heard that Murong Yu can refine a saint artifact in a day. TSK, this ability. Some people had high expectations for Murong Yu, while others had disdain written all over their faces. Especially those genius artificers from the 10 Holy Lands, they didn't even put Murong Yu in their eyes. Little bastard, aren't you very powerful? Today, I'll show you what it means by there's always someone better than you. So what if you're powerful? Today, I will still trample you under my feet. Just as Murong Yu stepped into the plaza, one by one, soft as a mosquito, but incomparably clear sound transmission sounded in his ears. There were people from True Martial Temple, Cloud-Piercing Island, Unparalleled Palace, and other forces. Murong Yu's expression remained unchanged as he slowly walked in. Using voice transmissions was a sign of weakness. If he really had the strength, why would he need to provoke Murong Yu in advance? At that time, wouldn't it be better to trample Murong Yu under his feet? The person who transmitted the message to him did not pose any threat to Murong Yu. The competition isn't about the grade of the saint artifacts, but the number and proportion of the array formations. Not long after Murong Yu sat down, the Holy Heavens Elder, who was hosting the exchange, appeared and began to announce the rules of the competition. Some people already know the rules, while others don't. Today, I still have to explain the rules in detail. The so-called proportion refers to the number of array formations in the saint artifact that is refined occupies the limit of the grade of the saint artifact. For example, a low-grade saint artifact can only be refined with 999 array formations. If you can refine a saint artifact with 999 array formations, then this is a 100% proportion. It's the same for other saint artifacts. Hearing this, Murong Yu couldn't help but nod his head. This was more fair. Because there was no limit to the number of saint artifacts that could be refined, the participants could refine low-grade saint artifacts. No matter how strong you were, you could refine a saint artifact. If it was just a competition of array formations, it would be too unfair. For example, An ordinary imperishable stage refiner could only refine high-grade saint artifacts at most. On the other hand, a high-grade saint artifact could only contain 9,999 array formations at most. However, a profound sage stage refiner could refine a top-grade saint artifact. As for a top-grade saint artifact, even the trashiest one would contain more array formations than a high-grade saint artifact. We don't have any rules about the grade of saint artifacts that must be refined. However, if the ratio of low-grade saint artifacts to mid-grade saint artifacts is 100%, then the mid-grade saint artifact will win. So, everyone, do as you see fit. Now, those who are participating in the armor conference, please come out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Before the Elder of the Holy Heavens could finish his sentence, several figures jumped out from the crowd. In addition to the people from the 10 Holy Lands, there were also people from other forces. Didn't they say that only the people from the 10 Holy Lands are qualified to participate in these exchanges? Are the other forces just here to observe? Could it be that the rules have been changed this year? Murong Yu frowned slightly. However, he still gestured to Yu Yangjia and the other two before slowly walking out. Only Murong Yu from the Seamless Society was participating in refining and alchemy. Yu Yangjia and the other two were only participating in the final competition. The other Holy Lands, even the other forces, had sent many people to participate in this artifact refining conference. Seeing that only Murong Yu was participating in the Seamless Society, the surrounding people couldn't help but drop their jaws to the ground. Could it be that the Seamless Society is relying on Murong Yu to win the championship? Some people in the surroundings felt a little depressed. Calm down, it is said that there are only a few disciples in the Seamless Society. Although they are all geniuses among geniuses, there aren't many disciples who are talented in refining and alchemy. Therefore, the Seamless Society hasn't participated in the exchanges. Some people in the know immediately explained. Hearing this, Murong Yu secretly laughed in his heart. However, the faces of Yu Yangjia and the others turned black. Facts had proven that those who were strong didn't necessarily know how to refine and refine pills. Just as those people had said, before Murong Yu had joined the Seamless Society, not a single one of the 17 disciples knew how to refine and refine pills. Well, there was actually one disciple who knew how to refine and refine pills. That disciple was their eldest senior brother, but their eldest senior brother was only half a bucket of water. As a result, the Infernal Affairs had never participated in this so-called exchange meeting. Since everyone didn't know how to refine, there was no need for them to embarrass themselves. There were at least tens of thousands of people participating in the artifact refining conference. However, only one person had won the championship. After a while, no one else went on stage. The Holy Heavens Elder waved his hand, and numerous black shadows shot out from his hand. They turned into streaks of light as they flew towards everyone who was participating in the exchange. There are large amounts of refining materials in these storage rings. They can be used to refine low-grade saint artifacts, and even ancestral artifacts. You can use them however you want. However, the artifact refining conference only lasts for half a month. If you can't refine a saint artifact in half a month, it will be considered a failure. Now everyone can begin. The Holy Heavens Elder said as his figure flashed and he left the plaza. Murong Yu stretched out his hand and grabbed a storage ring. At the same time, he extended his divine consciousness into it. This was an ownerless storage ring, and Murong Yu's divine consciousness entered it without any obstruction. In the next moment, he saw a mountain of various materials. Just as the Holy Heavens Elder had said, there were different grades of materials. They could be used to refine low-grade saint artifacts, and even ancestral artifacts. Among them, Murong Yu even saw a few materials that emitted an intense light from the storage ring. Those who dare to participate in the artifact refining conference have some ability. They might be able to refine low-grade saint artifacts with a 100% success rate. The higher the grade of saint artifacts, the harder it is to achieve a 100% success rate. Since that's the case, let's refine a supreme saint artifact. Morong thought to himself as he sat down cross-legged and began to think about what saint artifact to refine. Just as Morong sat down, an indescribable energy enveloped him. In the next moment, Morong realized that the space he was in seemed to have been separated by someone. It had become an independent space. This was to prevent others from interfering so that the weapon refiner could refine without any worries. Morong wasn't the only one who felt this way. The others felt the same. Let's refine a spear. Morong quickly made up his mind and began to imagine the appearance of the spear. After a while, he confirmed the appearance of the spear. Then, he began to take out all the materials that could be used to refine a supreme saint artifact from his storage ring. Flame of primal chaos. Morong was a decisive person. After everything was settled, he began to refine the weapon. While he was smelting the materials, the people in the square were still thinking about the saint artifact with their eyes closed or confirming the refining materials. In less than half a day, Morong began to smelt the materials. Isn't this speed too fast? The people around the square couldn't help but be shocked when they saw Morong's speed. The most taboo when refining weapons is to be impatient. This kid is too impatient. He can't achieve great things. Some senior experts glanced at Morong and then looked away in disdain. They no longer paid attention to Morong. They all felt that Morong was too impetuous. He still wanted to be in the limelight at this time. In the end, he didn't get anything. I heard that Morong can refine a saint artifact in a day. It seems to be true. I just don't know what grade of saint artifact he is going to refine today. Will it be a low-grade saint artifact or a middle-grade saint artifact? Some disciples of the true martial temple had heard of various legends about Morong before. Therefore, they were curious and looked forward to it. I wonder if little junior brother can win the championship in one fell swoop? I'm really looking forward to it. Wu Xinshui chuckled with a face full of anticipation. There will be a result soon. I have full confidence in little junior brother. Lu Xiankai said lightly. Yu Yangjia also nodded. Morong didn't know about all this. As soon as the refining process began, he focused all of his attention on the refining process. Otherwise, he wouldn't refine weapons. When refining weapons, he would refine the best saint artifact. Chapter 1467. His methods were skillful but not impatient. His speed was neither fast nor slow. This was Morong's current speed. Under his control, the perfect amount of flame of primal chaos melted all kinds of refining materials into a liquid. The flame of primal chaos was the most powerful flame. Under Morong's control, most of the impurities in the smelting materials were refined out. The reason why it was not 100% was because no one could completely remove the impurities in a material. Perhaps, when Morong became the controller of primal chaos, he would be able to. However, with his current strength, the level of the flame of primal chaos was not very high and could not reach that level. As for the others? Some people were indeed powerful and even had the 9-yang true fire, a strange flame of heaven and earth. Compared to ordinary flames, these strange flames were useful for refining. However, the gap between the flame of primal chaos was still too great. Therefore, Morong dared to guarantee that even the materials refined by the great master of weapon refining were not as pure as his. This was the power of flames. Flame of primal chaos. After seeing the black flame in Morong's palm, countless people's gazes turned to look at it. At this time, many of the refiners in the square had already started refining. All kinds of flames continued to erupt. There were red, white, green, and even purple ones. However, there were no black flames. It's definitely the flame of primal chaos. There's no temperature, but it can burn everything. This is the legendary sacred flame. The flame of primal chaos that many people can't even dream of. How did this kid get the flame of primal chaos? An expert sighed. This kind of flame is not only the sacred flame that refiners dream of, but it can also refine the impurities in the materials to the greatest extent. Moreover, the flame of primal chaos also has an extremely terrifying lethality. If an ordinary person obtains it, then they can erupt with 50% more strength than normal. This kid's luck is too good. He gets all the good things. The surrounding people kept looking at Murongyu, their eyes flickering. No one knew what they were thinking. Murongyu, who was focused on refining, couldn't help but smile coldly in his heart when he sensed everyone's shocked, disbelieving, and greedy gazes. After all, the flame of primal chaos was of such a high level that even some primal chaos ancestral saints couldn't help but covet it. Because Murongyu could feel the gazes on him, many of them giving him an extremely strong sense of danger. Primal chaos ancestral saints, especially those who had reached the peak of the primal chaos ancestral saint realm, had differences in strength. However, it was extremely difficult for experts of that realm to increase their strength. It was almost impossible to improve. At that time, a supreme weapon or a heavenly flame like the flame of primal chaos could increase their strength. Even if it was only a slight increase in strength, these primal chaos ancestral sages would still take it. Therefore, Murongyu's chaos fire successfully attracted the attention of these primal chaos forefathers. Moreover, probably many chaotic ancestral saints in the saints' world would pay attention to Murongyu after today. Moreover, there were many people who did not mind taking action and snatching the flame of primal chaos from Murongyu. Murongyu felt a little helpless. His entire body was filled with primal chaos energy, so he could only convert it into flame of primal chaos. In fact, he could still convert it into other flames. However, those flames were of no help to his weapon refinement. It might even affect the outcome of his weapon refinement. This time, Murongyu was determined to win the championship, so he didn't care about exposing the flame of primal chaos. One by one, Murongyu rapidly refined the various materials. Time passed day after day. On the fifth day, boom! A beam of sacred light shot into the sky, accompanied by a powerful aura that was as vast as a river, surging in all directions. 997 formations. Ha ha! When the beam of sacred light shot into the sky, arrogant laughter spread far and wide. Someone has refined a saint weapon. Everyone's gaze pierced through space and looked in the direction of the beam of sacred light. They saw a young man standing in the square, laughing at the sky. In front of him, there was a saint weapon that was emitting a powerful aura. The elder of the holy heavens, who was hosting the weapon refinement convention outside the square, stretched out his hand and grabbed the saint weapon. After inspecting it, he immediately announced, "Chern Hong, lower-grade saint weapon, 997 formations." As he spoke, the elder of the holy heavens took out a jade slip and recorded the information of the saint weapon and the refiner, Chern Hong. Then, he returned the lower-grade saint weapon to Chern Hong. 997 formations. Although the saint weapon's grade isn't high, he's a genius among geniuses to be able to do this. This guy doesn't seem to be from the 10 great saint lands, right? If we focus on nurturing him, he might be able to become a weapon refinement grandmaster in the future. Find out more about him for me. While the bystanders were praising Chen Hong, some of the elders had already given out orders to rope him in. Chen Hong swept a glance over the tens of thousands of people in the square who were still busy forging weapons. When he realized that he was still in the limelight, he once again raised his head to the sky and shouted 3 times. Stepping into the air, he slowly left the square. 5 days. Murongyu, aren't you able to refine a saint weapon in a day? It's already been 5 days. Why haven't you refined it yet? As he was leaving, Chern Hong deliberately glanced at Morongyu. Then, he laughed and said with a look of disdain. This was because he saw that Morongyu seemed to be inscribing formations on the saint weapon in his hand. This guy is provoking junior brother. Wu Xinshui's face darkened when he heard Chern Hong's voice. He was speechless. Junior brother's refining ability is definitely enough to kill him. However, junior brother doesn't seem to be in the right state today. It's just a saint weapon. He should have finished refining it long ago. Why is he still inscribing formations? I wonder what level of saint weapon he's refining. Lu Xiankai glanced at Morongyu in the square and said with some confusion. Outsiders like them were not allowed to extend their divine consciousness to watch. After all, that would disturb the refining process. Before the saint weapon was completely formed, it was impossible to tell what level it was. Yu Yangjia, who was resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes. He glanced at Morongyu and said, "There's still 2/3 of the 15-day deadline. Junior brother has plenty of time." After saying that, he closed his eyes again. Boom! Not long after Chern Hong left the square, the second-person saint weapon was formed. It was still a low-grade saint weapon, and there were 990 formations. It was quite heaven-defying. Although it was not as terrifying as Chern Hong, it was still a genius among geniuses. Haha, the one who laughed was not the person who had just finished refining, but Chern Hong. This guy was really arrogant now, because just now, many forces that were many times stronger than his sect had extended an olive branch to him. Boom, boom, boom. Beams of saint light continued to soar into the sky, accompanied by a powerful aura. Some of the saint weapons were successfully refined, while some of the explosions were caused by failed refinements. Those who failed were not only limited to their ability, but more importantly, their psychological quality was not good enough. Seeing that others were continuously refining successfully, they also became anxious. And once they became anxious, they could not maintain their best state. Once there was a mistake, the saint weapons they refined would basically be wasted. Time continued to pass, and one by one, people left the square, whether they succeeded or failed. Most of the saint weapons that were successfully refined were low-grade saint weapons. A few of them were middle-grade saint weapons, and none of them were high-grade saint weapons. Moreover, the formations in these saint weapons were close to the limit. But Chern Hong's 997 formations were the highest. This also made Chern Hong continue to be arrogant. Haha, it seems that the champion is none other than me. You all should give up refining. Chern Hong laughed. Hearing Chern Hong's words, those who were in the same faction as him took a few steps away from him. Each and every one of their faces were burning. Chern Hong was too arrogant and ignorant. They were simply ashamed to be associated with him. Even people from the same sect were like this, let alone others. At this time, each and every one of them was very unhappy looking at the arrogant Chern Hong. If not for the fact that fighting was not allowed here, someone would have long rushed up and trampled Chern Hong deep into the ground. I really want to use the sole of my shoe to viciously stomp on this guy's face. Even the mild-mannered Lu Xiankai could not resist wanting to make a move to step on Chern Hong. No way, after the exchange meeting ends, I must teach this guy a lesson. Wu Xinshui could not stay calm anymore. On the 6th day, already 1/3 of the people left the square due to refinement success or failure. On the 7th day, only 1/3 of the people were still in the square. On the 8th day, only 1/4 of the people were still refining. And at this time, there was finally a high-grade saint weapon that was successfully refined. The formations reached more than 9,600. Although there were many more formations compared to the saint-grade saint weapons, the ratio was far from Chern Hong and the rest. Even until now, Chern Hong was still in the limelight. No one could surpass him until now. Ha ha! You all still haven't given up? Still seeking humiliation for yourselves? Chern Hong stood in the void, looking disdainfully at Morongyu and the rest, who were still refining in the square, pointing and gesticulating. "Damn it, I can't take it any more. I give up on refining this time." Right at this time, a saint who was still cultivating suddenly roared, giving up on continuing to refine. Then he took a step out and disappeared from the square. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Chen Hong. The next instant, an incomparably huge fist slammed ruthlessly towards Chen Hong's face. Bang! Chen Hong did not even have time to react, and his entire person was already sent flying out. Chapter 1468. Chen Hong was only an ancient sage, while the sage who attacked was a sage king. The difference in strength between the two was huge. Hence, Chen Hong did not have the strength to fight back at all. He was sent flying by the Sage King with one punch. "Bastard, I've tolerated you for a long time." The Sage King roared and reached out to grab Chen Hong, who was sent flying. Then, he used both his hands and feet to beat Chen Hong up. Chen Hong's screams suddenly rang out in the square. This Sage King was also sinister. When he attacked, he sealed Chen Hong's strength. And he also used some method to intensify Chen Hong's pain. Hence, Chen Hong's pain. Hearing Chen Hong's screams, everyone in the square looked over. Seeing Chen Hong being beaten up by the Sage King like a punching bag, they were all very happy. These people were incomparably delighted in their hearts, and some of them were even itching to go up and give Chen Hong a good beating. "Senior brothers, elders, save me." Chen Hong was in so much pain that he was about to cry. Hence, he could not be arrogant anymore. He was actually begging for help from his senior brothers and elders of the sect. However, what made everyone feel extremely funny was that Chen Hong's senior brothers and elders seemed to not see all this. They all turned their heads and pretended not to see. Chen Hong's previous arrogance made his senior brothers and elders blush. They probably also wanted to beat Chen Hong up. Hence, they pretended not to see. After a long time, the Sage King seemed to have vented the depression in his heart. Only then did he send Chen Hong flying with one punch and release the seal on him at the same time. At this time, Chen Hong was already beaten beyond recognition. However, it was only superficial injuries. There were no serious injuries. It was because of this that his sect did not attack. After recovering his strength, Chen Hong's body only trembled and these superficial injuries healed. At the same time, he only looked at the Sage King with a fearful expression. Then, he found an empty corner and sat down silently. He did not dare to continue being arrogant. On the 10th day, there were only a few people left in the square. Those present were all from the 10 Great Holy Land. The people from the other forces had either succeeded or failed, and had already left the square. On the 12th day, there were only 30 to 40 people left in the square. These people were all artifact refiners from the 10 Great Holy Land. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was as if they had agreed upon it beforehand. On this day, everyone's sacred artifacts were successfully refined. Beams of sacred light soared into the sky. Waves of incomparably powerful auras swept across the entire area. Finally, a top-grade saint artifact has been successfully refined. When they sensed the aura that was more powerful than any sacred artifact in the past, many people who were resting with their eyes closed opened their eyes again and looked forward. Li Chun, a top-grade saint artifact. 19,998 formations. The Holy Heavens Elder grabbed one of the top-grade saint artifacts and inspected it. He nodded with a smile on his face as he spoke. Li Chun was one of the 3 major blacksmiths of the true martial temple's outer hall. He had hopes of becoming a blacksmith grandmaster. This supreme-grade sacred artifact was only 2 formations away from reaching its limit. It was the first among tens of thousands of people. A smile appeared on Li Chen's face when he heard the elder's words. At the same time, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Although he was one of the 3 major blacksmiths of the outer hall, it was impossible for him to refine a top-grade sacred artifact with so many formations under normal circumstances. Moreover, he had done it within half a month. This time, there was a considerable amount of luck involved. Li Chen's gaze swept across the square with a smile. In the end, his gaze stopped on Murongyu for a while. Then, his face turned a little gloomy. The sacred artifacts that Murongyu had refined before had all reached the limit of formations. Every single one of them had a limit. If Murongyu refined a low-grade sacred artifact that had reached the limit of formations, Li Chen would definitely lose. This bastard still hasn't succeeded after so long. Could it be that he wants to refine a top-grade sacred artifact? You can still carve out formations to the limit when refining low-grade sacred artifact. However, a top-grade sacred artifact? Li Chen sneered in his heart. He no longer paid attention to Murongyu and left the square. However, at this moment, he felt a gloomy gaze piercing through the void and landing on his body. Li Chen's footsteps paused slightly as he looked in the direction of the gaze. Coincidentally, he saw Chen Hong in the corner looking at him with a gloomy face. Li Chen's success in refining a sacred artifact had directly suppressed Chen Hong. It was normal for Chen Hong to be unhappy. He's just a disciple from a small force. Li Chen sneered in his heart as he retracted his gaze and quickly left the square. Yi Dan, top-grade sacred artifact, 19,996 formations. Zhang Sun Gong, top-grade sacred artifact, 19,995 formations. The Holy Heaven's Elder's voice rang out continuously. The genius blacksmiths of the 10 sacred grounds all succeeded in refining their sacred artifacts, and each of their formations reached the limit. However, no one was able to surpass Li Chen. However, an ancestor sage blacksmith from the true martial sacred hall had also refined 19,998 formations, which was the same as Li Chen's. On the 13th day, Murongyu was the only one left in the square. As for the others, they had successfully refined their formations. There were 8 people who had refined 19,998 formations. If Murongyu was unable to surpass this number or reach this number, he would be eliminated. The champion would be one of these 8 people. At this moment, Murongyu was still refining his sacred artifact. Both of his hands were constantly waving as he created one formation after another, which blasted into the long spear floating in front of him. What the hell is this guy doing? If I didn't see him moving, I would have thought that he had fallen asleep. Some people outside the square said impatiently. If you ask me, this guy doesn't have any ability at all. He's just using this method to impress the crowd. Some people said disdainfully. Maybe he's refining a sacred artifact of a higher grade? A top-grade sacred artifact? When the time comes, he'll suppress the others in one fell swoop. Ha ha! Someone laughed loudly as he mocked Murongyu. However, Murongyu acted as if he didn't see it as he continued to carve his formation. Time slowly trickled by, but Murongyu was still unhurriedly inscribing the array. On the 14th day, Murongyu was still repeating the same actions. It was the same on the 15th day. There were only 2 hours left. This bastard is still going on. It's obvious that he hasn't refined anything. It's simply a waste of our time. The elders of the true martial sacred hall should directly kick him out. Many people in the square began to curse Murongyu. They all thought that Murongyu was just putting on an act to impress the crowd. The Holy Heaven's Elder was also a little impatient. However, the rules of the weapon refining convention were there, and he had no right to interfere with Murongyu before the time was up. However, the displeasure in his eyes deeply betrayed him. What the hell is Junior Brother doing? Even Yu Yangjia and the other 2 from the Seamless Society were a little confused. However, they were just puzzled and puzzled. They weren't impatient. There was less than an hour left. He's just SOSO. I'm afraid that he has already failed. I've already said that he's just an ant-like existence. How can he compete with us? Li Chen looked at Murongyu and sneered at Sunluan and Wenlin. Our true martial sacred hall has never lacked powerful geniuses. We'll lose him. Perhaps we're really inferior to him in this aspect. However, we only need to suppress him in the aspect of weapon refining. A genius weapon refiner and a genius sage are definitely more important than us, Sun Luan said indifferently. When Lin smiled faintly and was about to speak when boom! All of a sudden, a dazzling holy light burst out from the square. Following that, an incomparably vast aura swept out in all directions like a tidal wave. Peerless Saint Artifact. When Lin blurted out, suppressing the words he wanted to say. With their strength as ancient sages, they could refine Peerless Saint Artifact. However, it was impossible for them to succeed in 15 days. The higher the grade of the artifact, the longer the time needed to refine it. The more difficult it was to inscribe the formations. It was true that the three of them could refine Peerless Saint artifacts, but there were only about 30,000 formations in them. They could only be considered ordinary Peerless Saint artifact. Humph, a profound sage refining a Peerless Saint artifact? He's just lucky. Even if he can refine a Peerless Saint artifact, there won't be many formations. It's just luck. Li Chen's face darkened as he said coldly. It wasn't just Li Chen who had this thought. Many others had the same thought. However, there were still some people who were looking forward to it. They all wanted to know how many formations Murong Yu had refined. In particular, the three people from the Infernal Society were looking forward to it. It's finally done. Murong Yu stood up from the ground and grabbed the long spear that was shining with black holy light. His face was full of satisfaction. Whether it was the grade of the long spear or the formations inscribed in it, Murong Yu was very satisfied. Elders of the true martial sacred hall, quickly see if this Peerless Saint artifact has 25,000 formations. Ha ha! Someone laughed out loud. Obviously, they didn't think that the Peerless Saint artifact that Murong Yu had refined by luck would have many formations. I dare to bet that there are less than 30,000 formations in this Peerless Saint artifact. No more than 25,000 formations. The surrounding people were not stingy with their mocking of Murong Yu. Hearing these mocking voices, Murong Yu couldn't help but sneer. Then, he directly handed the long spear to the Holy Heaven Elder. Immediately, the Holy Heaven Elder probed the long spear with his divine sense. He was also very curious. Very soon, the Holy Heaven Elder's expression changed. When the crowd saw the change in the Holy Heaven Elder's expression, their mocking voices retreated like the tide. 49,999 formations. The Holy Heaven Elder's trembling voice spread far and wide. Chapter 1469. 49,999 formations. When the Holy Heaven's Elder's trembling voice rang out, the entire square fell silent. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. One had to know that before Murong Yu's Saint Artifact, there were only 18,998 Saint Artifact arrays created by tens of thousands of blacksmithing geniuses. That was only a top-grade Saint Artifact. However, Murong Yu's top-grade Saint Artifact had surpassed those people in terms of the number of formations. Of course, top-grade Saint Artifacts had more formations than top-grade Saint Artifact. There was nothing strange about that. What shocked everyone was that Murong Yu had not only refined a top-grade Saint Artifact, but he had also carved formations to the extreme. Extreme. There was no lack of refining grandmasters present, and there were even refining grandmasters present. However, why was it that Murong Yu was the only one who had reached the limit? It wasn't that those refining grandmasters and grandmasters weren't skilled enough, but the extreme was something that was extremely difficult to reach. Not to mention reaching the extreme, it was extremely difficult to even reach the extreme. For example, there were tens of thousands of refining geniuses in the square, but only 8 of them had reached an extremely high ratio. They were only one formation away from reaching the extreme. The probability was 1 in 10,000. Of course, time was also a factor. If it wasn't for the restriction of half a month, there might still be some people who could reach this level. But the number definitely wouldn't exceed 20. Perhaps the only one who had reached the limit was Morongyu. After all, those refining grandmasters were all refining grandmasters. Refining grandmasters couldn't even carve formations to the extreme when refining low-grade saint artifacts, so how could they refine higher-grade saint artifacts? Among the humans of the saints' world, there might be some artifact-forging geniuses or great grandmasters. They might be able to draw the formations of saint artifacts to perfection. But it was absolutely impossible to maintain a 100% success rate. Moreover, the refining geniuses present in the square included most of the major forces in the holy world. In other words, most of the refining geniuses were present. Even the refining geniuses of the major forces couldn't do it, let alone the refining geniuses of the smaller forces. In other words, Murongyu's refining ability was second to none even among the humans of the holy world. As long as his strength increased, he would be able to refine a higher-grade sacred artifact, which would make him even more valuable. It should be known that the higher the grade of a saint artifact, the more powerful the saint artifact would be. However, among saint artifacts of the same grade, the formation was the only factor that determined their power. With one more formation, the power would increase. Furthermore, a sacred artifact whose array formation had reached the limit was comparable to a sacred artifact of a higher grade. In other words, an ancestral artifact that had reached the limits of its power would be comparable to an ordinary chaos ancestral artifact. It was the same for the other saint artifacts as well. From this, it could be seen how terrifying Murongyu's value was. Impossible. He's only in the profound sage realm. Not only can he refine a peerless saint artifact, but he can also inscribe formations to the limit. After a moment of shock, a roar rang out. Shortly after, a black figure shot out of the crowd and arrived before the elder in an instant. He snatched the supreme grade saint artifact from the elder's hand. The Holy Heavens elder, who was still in shock, was enraged. This person dared to question him. Could it be that his words had no credibility? In fact, the Holy Heavens elder didn't want to admit that Murongyu had this ability. However, as the host of the weapon refining conference, he had to be impartial and report the information about the peerless saint artifact that Murongyu had refined. Boom! After snatching the peerless saint artifact, the expert's divine consciousness rushed into the peerless saint artifact impatiently. Almost at the same time, countless divine consciousnesses tore through the void from different directions and descended. They entered the peerless saint artifact. However, after their divine consciousnesses entered the space inside the peerless saint artifact, they became careful and no longer rampaged about for fear of destroying the formations inside. There are actually 49,999 formations. After scanning the area with their divine consciousnesses, many experts immediately confirmed the formations inside the saint artifact. The arrangement of these formations looks ordinary, but when they are combined together like this, one after another, their power continues to increase. It's so ordinary yet so magical. These formations can actually be combined and arranged in such a way. It's really an eye-opener. Is this a peerless saint artifact? The formations are connected one after another, and two of them fuse into one. Then, the two of them fuse into one. When one of the formations is attacked, the other formations will automatically be activated and take the initiative to share the impact. The attack power is shared by the 49,999 formations. If you want to destroy this saint artifact, you'll have to destroy all the formations with a single punch. Those who rushed over to take a look were all super experts, and they were at least at the primal Chaos Ancestor Sage realm. Moreover, there was no lack of weapon refinement grandmasters among them. With just a glance, they were shocked by Murongyu's formation arrangement and combination. Their divine consciousnesses lingered inside the peerless saint artifact, and they were unwilling to come out. It was also because of these people that those who wanted to destroy the formations inside Murong Yu's peerless saint artifact didn't have a chance to do so. That was because this peerless saint artifact had been seen by so many people. Even if they destroyed it, they couldn't destroy the fact that Murong Yu had refined a peerless formation saint artifact. Murong Yu had a smile on his face the entire time as he indifferently watched those people studying his saint artifact. However, unlike Murong Yu, Chen Hong, who was originally very arrogant, was nowhere to be seen. Perhaps he was too traumatized and left on his own. This little bastard actually has this ability. His value has already surpassed ours. Li Chen, Sun Luan, and Wen Lin gathered together, and their expressions were somewhat ugly. The reason why Murong Yu had rebelled against true martial temple was entirely because of their suppression. Previously, Murong Yu was just an ordinary disciple, and he couldn't be compared to them at all. It was also because of their status that they were sure that Murong Yu's value to true martial temple was far less than theirs. That was why they dared to suppress him. But now, because of their suppression, true martial temple had lost such a talent. True martial temple, which had relatively few blacksmiths, would definitely be furious, and the few of them would have to bear the consequences of the anger of true martial temple's higher-ups. We can still suppress him in terms of alchemy. Even if we can't suppress him with alchemy, that matter has already happened. I'm sure true martial temple won't do anything to us. Sun Luan said indifferently, but his eyes flickered as if he wasn't sure. Li Chen and Wen Lin nodded, but their expressions were still somewhat gloomy. They didn't know why, but they didn't have much confidence in true martial temple's alchemists. After a long time, Murong Yu walked in front of Elder Holy Heaven and bowed slightly to him. Elder Holy Heaven, did I win this time? Then, he stretched out his hand and took back the peerless saint artifact, and put it into the Hichu Luoshu world. Elder Holy Heaven was stunned, but then he reacted and said, "That's right, you won. This is the reward this time, the great heavenly vitality pill." As he spoke, a jade bottle appeared in Elder Holy Heaven's hand and he passed it to Murong Yu. Murong Yu smiled, took the jade bottle and turned to leave. He didn't need to check it, and even if he did, he wouldn't know if it was real or fake. Moreover, he believed that true martial temple wouldn't tamper with it and take out a fake pill. At this point, the blacksmithing convention had come to a perfect end. This had exceeded many people's expectations, but it was within Murong Yu's expectations. Wait a moment. Murong Yu had just turned to leave when Elder Holy Heaven suddenly called out to Murong Yu. Murong Yu stopped and looked at Elder Holy Heaven. Murong Yu, are you willing to buy that peerless saint artifact? We can pay the price of a peerless saint artifact to exchange for it. Our cloud-piercing island is willing to use an ancestral artifact to exchange for this peerless saint artifact. Before the Holy Heaven's elder could finish his sentence, several experts appeared beside Murong Yu one after another. These people were the elders of various holy grounds, and some of them were even sect masters. Elder Holy Heaven's face darkened. He knew that these people would snatch the peerless saint artifact from the true martial temple, but he hadn't expected them to be so impolite. Moreover, he had only used a peerless saint artifact. That would make the true martial temple appear too stingy. The peerless saint artifact that Murong Yu had refined was comparable to a low-grade saint artifact at most. However, the array formation that had reached the limit was priceless. They weren't buying the saint artifact, but the array formation within it to study it. Once such a heaven-defying existence appeared in their forces, they would become even stronger. Our unparalleled palace is willing to exchange a primal chaos ancestral artifact for this peerless saint artifact. At this time, a cold female voice sounded. Then, a beautiful woman slowly walked over. She was an elder of the unparalleled palace, an expert in the primal chaos ancestor realm. She was extremely powerful. The unparalleled palace was really generous. They were willing to exchange a primal chaos ancestral artifact for this peerless saint artifact. While they were shocked, they also looked at Morongyu with envious and jealous gazes. So what if I can't refine a higher grade saint artifact? I just need to refine a few low-grade saint artifacts that have reached the limit of the array formation, and I can sell them for the price of a primal chaos ancestral artifact. A glint flashed across Morongyu's eyes. Didn't he lack saint artifacts that could increase his strength? Didn't these people want the saint artifacts that he had refined? Then wouldn't it be easy to refine a few saint artifacts that had reached the limit of the array formation and sell them? That was simply a source of wealth. Therefore, he didn't agree immediately. However, his mind quickly turned. Not long after, a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 1470. Everyone, please stop for a moment and listen to me. Morongyu suddenly spoke just as the competition was getting intense. As a result, the crowd stopped fighting and turned to look at Morongyu. Morongyu was the real deal. No matter how they fought, if Morongyu did not agree, there was nothing they could do. There's only one saint weapon, but everyone is very enthusiastic. Who should I give it to? Morongyu pretended to ponder. We, the unparalleled palace, are willing to exchange a Chaos Ancestor Saint for this supreme saint weapon. At the same time, we can promise you one thing within our power. The beautiful elder from the unparalleled palace was the first to speak. Hearing the elder from the unparalleled palace, the surrounding people could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The Chaos Ancestor Saint weapon was nothing. With the unparalleled palace's foundation, even if it was not much, it was definitely not little. Taking out one was just a drop in the ocean. However, agreeing to Morongyu's request was no small matter. Although it was something within their power, with the status of the unparalleled palace, what could they not agree to? Morongyu has struck gold. In an instant, countless people were envious and jealous of Morongyu. Especially those craftsmen. They were so jealous that they were about to go crazy. This little bastard's luck is really good. Li Chun and the other two looked at Morongyu with ashen faces, their eyes shining with resentment. As the outer disciples of the true martial sacred hall, the three craftsmen had never enjoyed such treatment before. We, the Purple Thunder Hall, agree to one thing and one Chaos Ancestor Saint weapon. An elder from the Purple Thunder Hall of the 10 Great Sacred Grounds also spoke. There was no hesitation. Hearing the offers from the 2 sacred grounds, other than the people from the other sacred grounds who had not given up, the other forces all stopped fighting. Because they knew that they had no chance. They could take out the Chaos Ancestor Saint weapon. However, agreeing to Morongyu's request was not as important as agreeing to the 9 Great Sacred Grounds. Even an idiot would know how to choose. Now, all Morongyu had to do was to choose from the other Holy Lands. Morongyu was indeed tempted. Morongyu, if you are willing to give this saint artifact to our true martial temple, our true martial temple can let you return to the sect and directly become the sect's holy son. You can enjoy any holy son's treatment. Moreover, our true martial temple can also teach you our temple's ultimate technique. The true martial scripture. The Holy Heaven's Elder, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke to Morongyu. The Zhenwu scripture. Hearing this, everyone turned pale with fright. The true martial scripture was the ultimate technique of the true martial temple. It was the cultivation technique that made the founder of the true martial temple famous. Its power was extremely terrifying. Moreover, in the true martial temple, only the temple master had the qualifications to inherit it. Today, the Holy Heaven's Elder actually made an exception and taught Morongyu the Zhenwu Holy Scripture? Could it be that he wanted to raise Morongyu as the Hall Master's successor? Everyone was shocked. In particular, the true martial temple's disciples were so shocked that their thoughts stopped moving. The true martial scripture was a cultivation technique that every true martial temple's disciple dreamed of. Everyone wanted to obtain it, and only a limited number of disciples were able to learn this peerless cultivation technique. However, Murong Yu obtained it so easily? In an instant, the true martial temple's disciples became even more envious and jealous of Murong Yu. Especially Li Chun and the others, who were going crazy with jealousy. They couldn't wait to become Murong Yu and agree to it. Murong Yu was also shocked, but he quickly sneered. To others, the true martial scripture was definitely tempting. However, one couldn't forget that Murong Yu had the chaotic celestial body. He could only cultivate the chaotic celestial body record and couldn't cultivate other cultivation techniques. They could only cultivate cultivation techniques that were related to battle technique. The true martial scripture was useless to him. Of course, Murong Yu couldn't use it, but others could. However, the true martial temple strictly prohibited this cultivation technique from being taught to outsiders. Most importantly, Murong Yu didn't think that the true martial temple would really treat him as a saint and teach him the true martial scripture. After all, he had already betrayed the true martial temple. Could it be that the true martial temple would really accept him as a disciple and nurture him as a saint? The true martial temple still had a warrant for Murong Yu. Wouldn't that be slapping themselves in the face? It was very likely that they would ignore Murong Yu after obtaining the Peerless Saint artifact. Therefore, Murong Yu eliminated the true martial temple from the first place. They were still chasing after him. Would he give them a saint artifact for them to study? Only an idiot would do that. Hee, I'm just a traitor of the true martial temple. Murong Yu only smiled faintly. After hearing Murong Yu's words, the elders of the Unparalleled Palace and Purple Thunder Hall couldn't help but relax. Although Murong Yu didn't say anything, his words contained many meanings. He directly rejected the true martial temple. Murong Yu, regarding the previous matter, the true martial temple was indeed in the wrong first. If you agree to our conditions, we will immediately deal with those people. Although the Holy Heaven's Elder didn't like Murong Yu, he still couldn't help but persuade him. Hearing that, Li Chen and the others couldn't help but tremble. After being in the true martial temple for so long, they had a slight understanding of the true martial temple. They all knew that if Murong Yu really agreed, the three of them would definitely die. After all, the three of them together weren't worth as much as Murong Yu alone. For a moment, the three of them had ugly expressions. Murong Yu shook his head. I'm sorry, I'm now a disciple of the Unparalleled Palace. It's pretty good in the Unparalleled Palace. Although I'm very monstrous, my senior brothers have never suppressed me. Can the true martial temple do that? When he reached the end of his sentence, Murong Yu's face was filled with ridicule. Suppression, except for the Unparalleled Palace, was a phenomenon that existed in all the other holy ground. The reason why the Unparalleled Palace didn't have that many disciples was probably because there weren't many of them. The Holy Heaven's Elder's face was slightly red. After snorting coldly, he flicked his sleeves and left. Murong Yu had already rejected them thoroughly. He didn't want to be rude to stay here. 2 primal chaos ancestral artifacts and promise me one thing. Murong Yu's gaze swept across the faces of the elders of the 8 holy grounds and finally fixed on the beautiful elder of the Unparalleled Palace. The elders of the Purple Thunder Hall and the Piercing Cloud Island fell silent. Although they were elders, they didn't have the right to decide. Murong Yu's condition was a little too much for them. Alright, I agree. However, the beautiful elder of the Unparalleled Palace didn't hesitate and immediately agreed. However, our Unparalleled Palace doesn't have any extra primal chaos ancestral artifacts right now. The transaction will take a few days. The beautiful elder of the Unparalleled Palace added. Deal. Murong Yu immediately agreed. This is my communication jade slip. When the Unparalleled Palace's primal chaos ancestral artifacts are delivered, I'll inform you of the transaction. The beautiful elder handed a communication jade slip to Murong Yu and floated away. Murong-yu, if you refine an ultimate formation saint artifact in the future, please contact us. The elder of the Purple Thunder Hall handed a communication jade slip to Murong-yu and left alone. Then, one by one, they handed their communication jade slips to Murong-yu and left one after another. They weren't as forthright as the unparalleled palace, but they weren't satisfied. Murong-yu kept all their communication jade slips into the Hichu Luoshu. If used well, these communication jade slips could not only be used to send messages, they could also be used for many other things. As for refining saint artifacts, Murong-yu would still refine saint artifacts in the future, but for his own people. As for selling them, there was a saying, a rare commodity worth hoarding. If there were too many of these saint artifacts, they wouldn't be worth much. Little junior brother, not only did you steal the limelight this time, you also gained a lot. When Murong-yu returned, Wu Xinshui couldn't help but say enviously. Murong-yu just shook his head and smiled. 2 primal chaos ancestral artifacts were indeed a lot for him now. However, when he reached the Saint King realm, he would need to refine the primal chaos ancestral artifacts to continue increasing his strength. At that time, not to mention 2 primal chaos ancestral artifacts, even 200 primal chaos ancestral artifacts wouldn't be enough. Murong-yu was just preparing for a rainy day. Little junior brother, I heard that you also refined some saint artifacts that reach the limit of formation in the true martial temple? Yu Yangjia said with a frown. Murong-yu laughed. 4th senior brother, do you think that if the true martial temple had those saint artifacts, they would still want to buy this peerless saint artifact of mine? Lu Xiankai suddenly smiled. Little junior brother, did you do something to those saint artifacts? Murong-yu nodded. It was inevitable that he would do something to them. Those saint artifacts that reached the limit of formation weren't roadside goods. Murong-yu had only set up another formation in that saint artifact. On that day, that formation wasn't activated. However, on the second day, that formation would automatically activate. Once that formation was activated, it would fuse perfectly with the other formations. At that time, as long as someone wanted to study the arrangement and combination of those formations, the power of that formation would explode and quickly destroy all the other formations. However, before it was activated, it wouldn't affect that saint artifact at all. Murong-yu even felt that the formations of a few saint artifacts had already been destroyed. Little junior brother, you're too sinister. This peerless saint artifact wouldn't have set up such a formation, right? Wu Xinshui chuckled and looked at Murong-yu. Murong-yu hurriedly shook his head. If that was really the case, he would have offended the unparalleled palace. Moreover, Murong-yu had always been very fair when it came to transactions. Let's go back first. After the weapon crafting conference ended, the alchemy conference continued half a month later. Murong-yu had performed exceptionally this time. He also wanted to go back earlier to carefully experience this experience and prepare for the alchemy conference. Chapter 1471. Generally, profound sages could only refine superb saint weapons. Very few people could refine superb saint weapons. Of course, this was because of their own strength. It should be known that the more powerful a saint weapon was, the more difficult it was to refine. Carving an array formation inside also required an even greater amount of energy and mental power. However, this was not the main reason. The main reason was that there seemed to be the rules of heaven and earth inside. Otherwise, with Murong-yu's current strength, which was comparable to a first-level Holy King, even if he could not refine a saint weapon, refining a superb saint weapon would not be a problem at all. However, all the weapon refiners in the Holy World, including Murong-yu, could basically refine saint weapons that surpassed their own level. For someone like Murong-yu, who had suddenly refined a superb saint weapon, it was definitely just luck. Indeed, Murong-yu had only refined a superb saint weapon out of luck. Originally, he had only intended to refine a superb saint weapon. With his ability to refine weapons, he could basically refine a superb saint weapon in a day. Moreover, it was the kind that had reached the limit of formations. However, Murong-yu naturally would not be so stupid as to refine a saint weapon in a day in front of everyone. Wasn't this clearly asking others to kill him? As the saying went, the tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Originally, Murong-yu had planned to refine the saint weapon successfully in 6 or 7 days. Therefore, he had slowed down. However, when the time was up, he felt that this saint weapon was unprecedentedly powerful when it was taking shape, because he had used the materials used to refine superb saint weapons to refine superb saint weapons. At that time, Murong-yu felt that this saint weapon might surpass the level of superb saint weapon. Therefore, he tried to carve more formations into it with the intention of giving it a try. This saint weapon was so powerful that it could completely withstand and accommodate 49,999 formations. Therefore, after Murong-yu had carved 19,999 formations, he did not stop. Instead, he continued to carve formations. As expected, this saint weapon easily withstood this formation. Therefore, Murong-yu continued to add formations and finally refined a superb saint weapon that had reached the limit of formations. There were many important factors that contributed to the successful forging of a supreme-grade saint artifact. The first reason was that the materials needed to refine saint artifacts were relatively powerful. The other and most important reason was Murong-yu's powerful refining ability. If it had been someone else, they wouldn't have had the confidence to take 6 or 7 days to form a sacred artifact, even if they felt that this sacred artifact could become a higher-grade sacred artifact. They weren't confident that they could carve more high-level formations. Moreover, what if he failed halfway through? Where would he find the time to refine another saint artifact? Wouldn't that mean that he had lost? As a result, they would choose to push the formations of supreme-quality saint artifacts to the limit and not forge supreme-quality saint artifacts like Murong-yu. Because Murong-yu had nothing to fear. He still had a lot of materials in his storage ring. Even if he failed this time, he could just refine another saint artifact. How much time could it take? These materials are just right for us to work together. After returning to the mountain where they were temporarily staying, Murong-yu entered the Hichu Luoshu world. Then, he took out the storage ring that true martial temple had given him. These storage rings weren't returned after refining the weapons, so there were a lot of materials in them. It could be seen how wealthy true martial temple was. Still can't do it? After a long time, Murong-yu stopped. Just now, he had used a lot of materials for supreme-quality saint artifacts to refine weapons. However, he could only refine supreme-quality saint artifacts every time. He couldn't refine supreme-quality saint artifacts at all. His current state was the same as that day. In fact, his refining speed was even slower. Was it really just luck that day? Murong-yu's face darkened and he continued to refine weapons. While Murong-yu was hiding to refine weapons, many guests came to the mountain where they were temporarily staying. After Murong-yu was in the limelight at the weapon refining convention, his reputation spread far and wide. These people had all come because of Murong-yu's reputation. Although they couldn't rope in Murong-yu, it would be beneficial for them if they could form a relationship with such a promising artificer. Therefore, they ignored the arrest warrant for Murong-yu from True Martial Temple. Therefore, many people came to visit Murong-yu. However, Murong-yu was in the Hichu Luoshu world and didn't pay attention to them at all. Only Wu Xinshui and the other two came out. In fact, Yu Yangjia and Lu Xiankai didn't usually show up. It was only Wu Xinshui who received these people. For 10 consecutive days, the crowd seemed to be endless. It made Wu Xinshui want to set up a restriction on the mountain to prevent people from coming in. However, the three of them didn't do that. Instead, they received the crowd very politely. This was because they knew about Murong-yu's situation. Although Murong Yu was a disciple of the infernal sect, there were too few of them. Sometimes they might not be able to help Murong Yu. Distant water couldn't put out a nearby fire. However, these people were different. They were everywhere in the human race. When going out, they had to rely on their friends. Who knew when Murong Yu would need them? Bang! A war blade in front of Murong Yu's eyes suddenly exploded. This was because he had forcefully added the 20,000th formation to the saber. Is it really just luck that I'm unable to successfully refine a peerless saint artifact? Murong Yu sighed and stopped refining. This was because he had no more materials. However, although he didn't successfully refine a sacred weapon these days, he had gained a lot of insight. Now, his refining speed was faster and more skillful. The sacred weapon he refined was stronger and closer to a sacred weapon. Next, I'll refine pills. Time flowed like water, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Murong Yu stepped out of the Hichu Luoshu world. When he scanned with his spirit consciousness, he happened to see Wu Xinshui smiling as he released a group of people. 17th Senior Brother, what's going on? Why are there so many people these days? Murong Yu walked over and asked curiously. Although he was in the Hichu Luoshu world, he still left a trace of spirit consciousness outside. However, he didn't want to bother about it. Therefore, although he knew that many people had been here these days, he didn't know what was going on. Wu Xinshui only rolled his eyes at Murong Yu. Without saying anything, he tossed something over. Murong Yu caught it and saw that it was a storage ring. While he was puzzled, he had already probed it with his spirit consciousness. What's going on? Are these all communication jade slips? With a single glance, Murong Yu jumped in fright. There was only one thing in the storage rings, a mountain of communication jade slip. 17th Senior Brother, did you rob many people in the past half a month? Did you specifically rob them of their teleportation jade slips? Murong Yu still couldn't guess what was going on. However, he still joked with Wu Xinshui. Wu Xinshui glared at Murong Yu. In the past half a month, he didn't rest or sleep. Whether it was day or night, he received group after group of people who came to visit Murong Yu. If it wasn't for the alchemy conference starting soon, there would be an endless stream of people. They're all for you. Every one of them said that you need them, so you have to ask. Moreover, these communication jade slips can sense the existence of their original bodies within a certain range. Murong Yu nodded and threw the storage ring full of communication jade slips into the Hichu Luoshu world. 17th Senior Brother, you've worked hard. When the day comes when I can refine a supreme weapon, I will refine a powerful supreme weapon for you to repay you. Forget it. Wu Xinshui rolled his eyes. No matter how a supreme weapon was refined, it still needed the nourishment of a supreme weapon to become a powerful supreme weapon. Even if I can't refine it, I'll find you a supreme weapon. Murong Yu laughed. He already had a few supreme weapons in his hands. However, he couldn't give them to Wu Xinshui and the others now. At the same time, Yu Yangjia and Lu Xiankai also came out. Thus, the four of them flew towards the square. Just as the two of them flew away from the mountain peak, Murong Yu couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Not far in front of him, a beautiful woman with a cold expression stood facing the wind. After seeing Murong Yu, a smile appeared on her face. Like a flower in full bloom, Murong Yu and the others couldn't help but be startled. This beautiful woman was the unparalleled palace's elder Xuanning. Like her name, she was famous for being cold and indifferent. She never gave anyone a good face. Moreover, it seemed that she cultivated an ice cultivation technique. Anyone within a certain distance from her would feel cold. Therefore, even her disciples were unwilling to stay close to her. Therefore, when Murong Yu and the others saw Elder Xuanning smiling, they were stunned. Especially Yu Yangjia and the others who knew Elder Xuanning better. They were even more shocked than Murong Yu. Don't tell me this old woman has taken a liking to junior brother? Yu Yangjia and the others looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. Junior brother is so outstanding. Although this woman is the unparalleled palace's elder, she's about 25 years old. She's extremely beautiful. Whether it's her status or appearance, she's worthy of junior brother. Lu Xiankai and the others thought to themselves. Immediately, the three of them slowed down their footstep. Only Murongyu, who didn't know anything, went up to greet her. Elder Xuening, you actually came personally. Could it be that you've brought my 2 primal chaos ancestral artifacts? Hearing Murongyu's words, Yu Yangjia and the others couldn't help but roll their eyes. According to them, Murongyu should have praised Elder Xuening's beauty. If he married Elder Xuening, then no matter how big the holy world was, who would dare to touch him? Elder Xuening didn't say anything. She only nodded slightly and handed a storage ring to Murongyu. Here are the 2 chaos ancestral weapons. Murongyu took the storage ring and put it into his Hichu Luoshu without even looking at it. At the same time, he threw the supreme grade saint weapon he refined half a month ago to Elder Xuening. Elder Xuening was a little surprised. Aren't you going to check it? Murongyu shook his head. I trust you, Elder Xuening. A strange look flashed in Elder Xuening's eyes. After taking a deep look at Murongyu, she turned and left without saying anything. Chapter 1472. In the square, just like the beginning of the artifact refining convention, there were people everywhere. Except for the central position, the other places were full of people. Before the artifact refining convention began, when Murongyu entered the square. When facing him, they all looked at him with anger, disdain, and so on. No one gave him a good face. But today, before Murongyu stepped into the square, one by one, eyes full of goodwill greeted him. Some even directly nodded to Murongyu. This treatment was really the difference between heaven and earth. Of course, there was also disdain, anger, and so on. But relatively speaking, those were almost negligible. The reason for this situation was that Murongyu's status had become higher. Previously, he was a spy's disciple, but the people present were all disciples of some big forces. Although they were a little afraid of the spy's disciples, it was far from the point of being afraid of them. But when Murongyu showed his talent in artifact refining, his status rose, even surpassing his status in the spy's organization in one fell swoop. The people present didn't have to make friends with the spy's disciples, and even disdain them. But they couldn't not make friends with someone with a super talent in artifact refining. What if this person became a weapon saint in the future? In that case, he would have countless followers, and hundreds would respond to his call. Regardless of who they were, if they wanted to make a move on Murongyu, they would have to consider his suitors. Moreover, everyone wanted a saint tool, and maybe there would be a time when they would ask Murongyu for it. Murongyu also responded with a smile on his face. When he walked to the spy's seat, the expression on his face was a little stiff. Little junior brother, we also benefited from your light. Those people's eyes also became a lot gentler. Wu Xinshui said with a smile. Murongyu couldn't help but smile bitterly. The others didn't have any malice towards the spy's disciples. At most, the people of the 10 Holy Lands were dissatisfied with the spy's position as the #1 Holy Land. The most important thing was that the disciples of the true martial temple didn't like the spy's disciples. Because the spy's organization had always been above the true martial temple. Moreover, at the very beginning, Murongyu had suppressed the ancient sage of the spaceless Tao, causing the true martial sacred hall to lose face. The most important thing was that the infernal branch had recruited Murongyu, a traitor of the true martial temple. However, many disciples of the true martial temple were still unhappy with him. Little bastard, you've been quite proud of yourself these past few days. However, in the holy world, the status of an alchemist was much higher than that of an artificer. Just as Murong Yu sat down, a voice filled with hatred resounded in his ears. "I'll make sure your reputation goes down the drain." Murong Yu frowned slightly, and a cold, killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. There were too many people here, so he couldn't figure out who had sent him the message. Therefore, he only snorted coldly. He was determined to become the champion of the alchemy conference. As long as he became the champion, he could suppress everything. Very quickly, the Holy Heaven's Elder appeared once more. Just like the weapon crafting convention, the alchemy convention doesn't have many rules. It was a competition of alchemy compatibility. The one with the highest compatibility would be the champion of the alchemy convention. Under the same compatibility, the one with the highest grade of alchemy would be the winner. The Holy Heaven's Elder spoke concisely, and with just a few sentences, everyone went up to the stage. Swish! When Murong Yu stood up from his seat and walked towards the center of the plaza, countless gazes swept across the void and landed on Murong Yu. Murong Yu is indeed a genius in both alchemy and smithing. His smithing ability is so heaven-defying. I wonder how his alchemy ability is? There are many people in the holy world who specialize in both smithing and alchemy. However, no one has achieved great success. Those who have great achievements only specialize in one aspect. They either smithing or alchemy. Murong Yu is so talented in smithing, but his alchemy ability shouldn't be that great, right? Maybe he just went out to play. Someone guessed. That's where you're wrong. It's said that when Murong Yu was still a servant disciple in the true martial sacred hall, he could already refine pills with a compatibility of more than 90%. He's a true alchemy grandmaster. That's impossible, right? How can Murong Yu be so heaven-defying? It must be a rumor. Some people questioned in disbelief. It's up to you to believe it or not. In any case, the results will be out soon. As everyone discussed, Murong Yu's alchemy achievements in the true martial sacred hall were dug up. Hence, more and more people's gazes gathered on Murong Yu. Some people who didn't pay a visit to Murong Yu were secretly regretting it in their hearts. They had already made up their minds to pay a visit to Murong Yu after the alchemy convention. Just like the convention, Murong Yu and the rest of the participants received a storage ring that was filled with all kinds of alchemy ingredients. However, it was different from smithing as any of the ingredients could be used to refine a saint artifact. However, alchemy required a pill formula. Without a pill formula, no matter how many ingredients one had, one wouldn't be able to refine a pill. After Murong Yu probed the storage ring with his spiritual force, he realized that there were many different kinds of ingredients in the storage ring. However, they were all mixed together, and there was no pill formula. I believe that everyone can see that there are all kinds of ingredients in the storage ring, and there is no pill formula. Very good. As an alchemist, not only do you have to be proficient in alchemy, but you also have to have a strong ability to identify the ingredients and have countless pill formulas. What you have to do now is not only to refine the pill with the highest compatibility, but also to choose the ingredients that you need to refine the pill from the tens of thousands of ingredients in the storage ring. Then, let's start now. The Holy Heaven's Elder said faintly and left the square in a flash. At the same time, Murong Yu and the rest of the participants entered the independent space again. Murong Yu and the rest of the participants began to identify the ingredient. Isn't it too difficult to identify the medicinal properties of tens of thousands of ingredients and choose the ingredients that you need to refine the pill? Not to mention half a month, I wouldn't be able to identify them even if I had to do it for 15 years. Outside the square, the sages were all shocked. Of course you can't do it because you don't even recognize those ingredients and you don't have any pill formulas in your head. Someone sneered. For those alchemists who are immersed in the field of alchemy, identifying medicinal herbs is only the most basic ability. However, there should be many people trying to take advantage of the situation. Let's just watch. I quit. I quit. Indeed, it didn't take long for those who failed to refine the pill to leave unwillingly. They might be alchemists, but their ability to identify the ingredients was too weak. In the face of tens of thousands of ingredients, they couldn't identify the ingredients at all. Moreover, they had too few pill formulas, and they didn't know what pill they needed to refine. Even if they wanted to refine a pill, they couldn't find the ingredient. Although there were tens of thousands of ingredients in the storage ring, there might not be the ingredients that they needed to refine the pill that they wanted to refine. As the days passed, more and more people chose to leave the alchemy conference. Those who stayed were more or less confident, or they were unwilling to give up just like that. Murong Yu was also trying his best to identify the ingredients at this time. In reality, although Murong Yu was extremely talented in alchemy, his foundation was too weak. After all, he hadn't ascended to the holy world for long, and most of his time was spent cultivating and increasing his strength. He basically didn't have much contact with the ingredient. Therefore, he was rather embarrassed now. Even though a few days had passed, he only identified a few hundred types of pills. These few hundred types of medicinal ingredients were just the tip of the iceberg compared to tens of thousands of medicinal ingredients. Most of them were Murong Yu, and he had never even heard of them. Moreover, the pill formulas in Murong Yu's head were pitifully few. Among the hundreds of medicinal ingredients that he identified, none of them were suitable for the pill formulas that he knew. This made him very embarrassed. I need to find time to cram some knowledge in this area in the future, and I also need to cram some knowledge in refining. Murong Yu thought to himself as he identified the medicinal ingredient. If it wasn't for the fact that he had something to rely on in his heart, he would have left with his tail between his legs like the others. That would be a huge loss of face. At this time, half a month's time had passed. Some of the alchemists who were still in the square were already refining pills. On the other hand, some people were still trying to identify the pills. Perhaps they were trying to find the medicinal ingredients needed to concoct higher-grade pills. Of course, there were still many people like Murong Yu who only identified a few hundred types of medicinal ingredients, but didn't want to give up just like that. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. There were only 5 days left until the end. There were still many people in the square who hadn't started refining pills, including Murong Yu. It's over. Don't tell me little junior brother hasn't found the ingredients he needs? Wu Xinshui said to Lu Xiankai and Yu Yangjia speechlessly. Maybe it's true. But it shouldn't be. Isn't his alchemy ability quite heaven-defying? Lu Xiankai's voice was a little low. Strong alchemy ability doesn't necessarily mean the ability to identify medicinal ingredients is strong. Don't forget, little junior brother hasn't been in the holy world for long, so it's normal that he doesn't recognize those medicinal ingredients and doesn't have many pill formulas. Yu Yangjia said indifferently. Lu Xiankai and Wu Xinshui looked at each other. Little junior brother can't be like what fourth senior brother said, right? If that's the case, then he's really a tragedy. True martial temple is too shameless. Didn't they give out the corresponding pill formulas and medicinal ingredients in the previous years? Only this way can we test who's better and stronger. Moreover, little junior brother isn't anxious. Why are you guys so anxious? The emperor is not anxious, but the eunuchs are. Yu Yangjia shook his head and said helplessly to Lu Xiankai and Wu Xinshui. Chapter 1473. Rumble. While Lu Xiankai and the others were talking, a muffled sound suddenly came from the square. Everyone immediately looked over and saw a ray of holy light rising from the sky. At the same time, it was accompanied by a rich pill fragrance. Someone has refined a pill. Everyone's eyes lit up as they looked over. They saw that one of the alchemists in the square had already stood up, and in his hand was a round pill the size of a longan. The incomparably rich medicinal fragrance was being emitted from the medicinal pills here. In fact, the pill was even emitting a faint light. That's a pill halo. A pill halo will only appear when it reaches at least 90% compatibility. A sage exclaimed. Hearing this, the sage who had successfully refined the pill revealed a trace of satisfaction on his face. Then, he quickly left the place and came to the side to hand the pill over to Elder Holy Heaven. Elder Holy Heaven was very powerful and was at the level of a primal chaos ancestor sage. Even if he wasn't an alchemist, there was no problem in inspecting the pill's compatibility. Therefore, he didn't even need a few breaths of time to announce, Zhao Hu, Ultimate Origin Pill, 90% compatibility. Zhao Hu was the name of the alchemist, and the Ultimate Origin Pill was the name of the pill that he had successfully refined. However, the Ultimate Origin Pill could only be considered a low-level sage pill. However, Zhao Hu was the first alchemist to successfully refine a pill with a 90% compatibility. His alchemy ability was quite strong. Of course, there was no lack of luck involved. However, in the holy world, luck was also part of one's strength. If one was unlucky, they would fall to their death when they went out. Rumble, just as Elder Holy Heaven announced, the second alchemist had also successfully refined a pill. The same 90% compatibility, and the grade of the pill was about the same. However, he was a little behind the first alchemist. Strictly speaking, he had already lost. In the following period of time, more alchemists continued to refine their pills. The alchemists who could persist until now were relatively strong. Therefore, the compatibility of their pills was no less than 80%. However, there were still not many alchemists with more than 90% compatibility. Even if it was only a low-level sage pill. After all, a pill with a 90% compatibility was already considered an alchemy grandmaster. One had to know that there were very few alchemy grandmasters in the holy world. Of course, it didn't mean that one could become an alchemist just by refining a pill with a 90% compatibility. One could only be considered an alchemy grandmaster if the success rate of refining pills with 90% compatibility was above 60%. On the 11th day, on the 12th day, the 13th day, many people either succeeded or failed and left the square one after another. And now those who were still in the square were some real alchemy experts. The pills they refined were relatively high grade, so the time it took to form the pills was relatively longer. Other than that, there were still some people who had yet to start concocting pills. There were dozens of people, and Murong Yu was one of them. And these dozens of people were the targets of ridicule. It was obvious that these people had not found the medicinal herbs that could be used to refine pills. There are still 2 days left. If it were me, I would have come down long ago. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to stay here? Someone sneered disdainfully. Didn't they say that Murong Yu's alchemy skills are heaven-defying? Why haven't you started refining pills yet? It's obvious that he didn't find any medicinal herbs at all. Maybe he only prepared to refine pills on the last day? Just like when he was refining? Shocking the world with a single brilliant feat? Listening to the discussions of the crowd, Murong Yu remained calm, regardless of whether he heard them or not. But Lu Xiankai and the others from the infernal branch were somewhat uneasy. It's over. Little junior brother is going to have a tragedy. He can't be unable to refine even one pill, right? That would be too embarrassing. As long as he could refine a pill, no matter what grade of pill it was, it wouldn't be too embarrassing. After all, he had already refined a pill. But if he didn't refine any pills in half a month, then it would be a real tragedy. Originally, Yu Yangjiao was still relatively calm, but now he was somewhat uneasy. There were still 2 days left. Could Murong Yu still be able to defy the heavens? Then what was Murong Yu's situation now? After more than 10 days of identifying medicinal herbs, Murong Yu still only identified a few hundred types of medicinal herbs, not even 900. And there were no medicinal herbs suitable for him to refine pills at all. Forget it. I'd better not try to be brave. Murong-yu helplessly gave up on identifying medicinal herbs. If this continued, he would really lose a lot of face this time. Hichu, it looks like you still have to do it. Murong-yu communicated with Hichu in his mind. Hichu couldn't even be bothered to look down on Murong-yu. He directly sent out a trace of his divine will, merging it with Murong-yu's, and entering the storage ring. Once his divine will covered the medicinal herbs, the names of these herbs automatically appeared in Murong-yu's mind, their medicinal properties, and even what kind of pills they could be used to refine in an instant. Countless pieces of information appeared in his mind. This was because Hichu shared his memories with him. 3 Revolutions Soul Condensing Pill. It didn't take long for Hichu to confirm the pill they were going to refine. At the same time, the various medicinal herbs to refine the 3 Revolutions Soul Condensing Pill automatically flew out. In total, there were more than 1,000 medicinal herbs. This is a pill that can repair the soul. As long as the soul isn't completely destroyed, it can be repaired. It's a kind of top divine pill. However, this pill formula has long been lost in the holy world, so there aren't many 3 Revolutions soul condensing pills circulating in the holy world. I didn't expect that there would be medicinal herbs to refine the 3 Revolutions soul condensing pill among these herbs. It'll let you amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Hichu directly passed the pill formula and refining method to Murong-yu and said at the same time, "Big brother, I'm the one refining the pill. How can I refine such a high-grade divine pill with my current strength?" Murong-yu discovered that the 3 Revolutions soul condensing pill was effective even for primal chaos ancestor sages, so he was speechless. Although this divine pill is high-grade and even a top-grade pill, however, there are no requirements to refine it. Even an alchemy grandmaster can refine it. Of course, the stronger one's alchemy ability, the stronger the effect of the 3 Revolutions soul condensing pill. Ordinary alchemy grandmasters are already very strong if they can refine it successfully. If it's a pill with a 90% compatibility, ordinary alchemy grandmasters can't do it. However, if it's a success, it'll definitely amaze the world. Hichu continued. Although I'm a little stronger than ordinary alchemy grandmasters, I'm not that much stronger. Murong-yu was speechless. Just as he was about to choose another pill that he was confident in refining, he was interrupted by Hichu. But you're different. With your alchemy ability, you can reach a compatibility of more than 93% with just some practice. You might even reach a compatibility of 95%, because you're not only an alchemy grandmaster, but also a soul sage. A soul sage alchemy grandmaster is the most suitable person to refine this pill. As he spoke, a wave of information poured into Murong-yu's mind. Therefore, Murong-yu knew that refining this pill required the addition of soul power. Alchemy grandmasters who weren't soul sages couldn't add soul power when refining this pill, so even if the pill was refined, the compatibility wouldn't be high, even less than 30%. This naturally didn't have any effect. Murong-yu pondered for a moment and decided to refine this pill. However, he didn't immediately start. Instead, he deduced it in his mind. At this time, it was already the 14th day. Except for Murong-yu, those who still couldn't find the herbs had already left the square. The rest of the people who stayed in the square were refining pills. Therefore, Murong-yu's existence was particularly conspicuous. Murong-yu is going to be a tragedy. He'll definitely lose face. Everyone, including Lu Xiankai and the others from the Infernal Branch, felt that Murong-yu was going to lose face this time. But, hey, Murong-yu is preparing to refine pills? Suddenly, someone noticed that Murong-yu was moving, because a variety of different herbs kept appearing in front of him out of thin air. In the blink of an eye, thousands of herbs appeared in front of everyone. What is he going to do? Everyone was puzzled. But soon, Murong-yu gave them an answer. Streaks of flame of primal chaos kept appearing, wrapped around each herb, and then directly smelted it. Madman! Madman! He actually wants to smelt thousands of herbs at once? This is simply crazy. Seeing Murong Yu's actions, everyone present exclaimed. Then, one by one, they felt that Murong Yu was really crazy. Whether it was refining weapons or refining pills, the step of smelting was necessary and also the most important. Every kind of material was different, and the fire required was also different. Generally speaking, weapon refiners and alchemists would only refine one kind of material at a time. Even if someone could refine several kinds of materials at the same time, they would only refine one kind for safety reasons. Therefore, in weapon refiners and alchemists, no one would refine many kinds of materials at the same time. And now, Murong Yu couldn't refine more than one kind, but thousands of kinds. His mental strength and mental strength are actually so strong? He can refine thousands of kinds of materials at the same time? Everyone felt that they were going crazy. They all felt that it was too unbelievable. While they were still in shock, Murong Yu had already started to refine the herbs in an orderly manner. Under his exquisite control, over 1,000 types of medicinal herbs were continuously smelted without any mistakes. This guy's mental strength and mental strength are too terrifying. Even a holy king or an ancestral sage can't possibly have this ability. This saves a lot of time, but if his mental strength and mental strength are exhausted, he will definitely suffer a tragedy. Someone sneered, thinking that Murong Yu was just playing to the gallery. They all believed that it wouldn't be long before Murong Yu's mental strength was exhausted. However, what they didn't know was that Murong Yu was a soul sage, and his soul pool was much stronger than other soul sages of the same level. In a situation like this, he didn't need to consume much energy at all. Chapter 1474. The soul pool in Murong Yu's soul space shook violently. Streams of soul power surged out like a torrent, turning into streams of mind power that quickly replenished the mind power that Murong Yu had consumed. With such a large soul pool to replenish his soul power, Murong Yu didn't consume any soul power at all. Not to mention melting thousands of herbs at the same time, even thousands or tens of thousands of herbs wouldn't be a problem. However, Murong Yu was already in the limelight. If he continued like this, it would only be detrimental to him, not beneficial at all. However, in the eyes of outsiders, Murong Yu's actions were just sensationalism. In fact, Murong Yu didn't want to be so flashy. After all, if he was too flashy, he would attract the jealousy of many people. However, Murong Yu was also forced to do so. There were only 2 days left. If he were to smelt herbs one by one like the others, not to mention 2 days, even 20 days wouldn't be enough. Since that was the case, he would go crazy. As he separated the mind power, Murong Yu was still thinking about the refining method of the 3 revolutions: soul condensing pill, Huiyang, great supplement pill, a bottle of 10 pills, all of which have a compatibility of 94%. Just as everyone's attention was on Murong Yu suddenly spoke up. The Holy Heaven's Elder's loud and clear voice suddenly rang out. Wow! Immediately, the entire square and even the people further away were shocked. For a moment, everyone's eyes were on the square, looking at the arrogant Huiyang. At this moment, Huiyang was standing in front of the Holy Heaven's Elder with an arrogant smile on his face. What a powerful alchemy ability! Everyone was not stingy with their praises. At this point in the alchemy conference, countless people had refined pills. Among them, there was no lack of pills with a compatibility of 94%. But before the blazing sun, each person could only refine one pill. A pill with a compatibility of 94% showed that this person was undoubtedly a very powerful alchemist. However, no matter how powerful he was, he couldn't compare to Huiyang. The difference between 1 pill and 10 pills was like the difference between heaven and earth. Therefore, when the Holy Heaven's Elder announced Huiyang's results, the faces of the alchemists who had a compatibility of 94% darkened. From this moment on, Huiyang had trampled all of them under his feet. Unless someone else refined more pills with a compatibility of 94% or 95%, Huiyang would win. Otherwise, the champion of this competition would be Huiyang's. However, refining pills with a compatibility of 95% was easier said than done. Alchemy Saint. It should be known that even Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint-level alchemists would be participating in the Grand Alchemy Conference. Alchemy skills didn't saint alchemy skills of alchemy. It was precisely because of this that the alchemists of the true martial temple's inner hall could only refine pills with a 94% compatibility at most. Moreover, there were only a few people who could achieve this result. Pill saints were not allowed to participate in this alchemy assembly. Otherwise, it would be considered as bullying. The World's Fair. Huiyang, who felt the gazes of countless people on him, felt extremely satisfied. 10 pills in a bottle had reached a compatibility of 94%. This was something that would never appear in the entire true martial temple. Even those pill saints did not have such a result before they became pill saints. He knew that he would be the champion this time. Moreover, what awaited him was not only the champion of the alchemy conference, but also the key nurturing of the true martial temple. He had the potential to become a pill saint. He immediately glanced at Morongyu, who was still refining pills, with disdain. Then, he calmly left the square. Junior brother Huiyang, you will be the champion this time. Huiyang had just left the square when a few people surrounded him. The person who spoke was one of the 6 giants of the true martial temple's outer hall, the weapon-refining Grandmaster Li Chun. These 3 fellows were completely defeated by Morongyu at the crafting convention, so they were all very worried. Now that they saw Huiyang's divine might, they naturally glowed brightly. Huiyang smiled faintly. I was just lucky. Morongyu, that trash, may be very strong in weapon refining, but in terms of alchemy, he's not even worthy of carrying my shoes. Li Chun and the other 2 couldn't help but blush. Before, they had proudly said that they would suppress Morongyu in weapon refining. But now? Fortunately, Huiyang was still able to suppress Morongyu. Otherwise, the 6 of them would definitely suffer a tragedy. That little bastard is still holding on, but he doesn't know that in the end, he's just a joke for everyone, when Lin glanced sideways at Morongyu and said indifferently. His words were full of disdain. Huiyang just shook his head and did not continue to speak. However, the disdain on his face was very strong. After Huiyang, one alchemist after another succeeded in refining pills and left the square. However, no one's result could compare to Huiyang's. Although the pills refined by Huiyang were not high-grade, they were just ordinary strength replenishing pills. However, the compatibility of 10 pills with 94% remained unbroken until the 15th day. On the 15th day, only Morongyu was left in the square. At this time, the faces of the people in the square darkened. This guy is still smelting the materials. There is still 1 day left. Can he succeed? He doesn't think that whoever finishes last will be the first, right? If it were me, I would have already dug a hole to hide. I can't afford to lose face like this. Everyone was impatient, especially those who didn't like Morongyu. They directly scolded Morongyu, regardless of whether Morongyu could hear them or not. Junior brother, are you sure you can succeed? If you persist to the end and achieve nothing, Lu Xiankai's face turned red. If such a thing really happened, although they wouldn't blame Morongyu, they would definitely lose face. Junior brother doesn't need to be afraid of losing face, so what are we afraid of? Moreover, I have confidence in junior brother. Wu Xinshui, who had been worried about Morongyu, suddenly said with confidence. Yu Yangjia and Lu Xiankai looked at Wu Xinshui in surprise and asked in unison, 17th junior brother, why are you suddenly so confident in junior brother? Did he send you a sound transmission? Wu Xinshui shook his head. No, junior brother didn't send me a sound transmission. I don't know why I suddenly have so much confidence in him. It should be Junior Brother's confidence that infected me? From the beginning to the end, Morong Yu's face always had a confident look. Look, Junior Brother has started to refine pills. At this time, a pill cauldron suddenly appeared in front of Morong Yu, yin-yang cauldron. Refining pills required a pill cauldron. Otherwise, it would be difficult to form pills. In fact, many alchemists also needed the help of a pill cauldron when smelting herbs. This was because the pill cauldron could save a lot of strength and mental strength. However, there were also quite a few alchemists who only used their own flames to smelt herbs. However, this required the control of flames to reach a superb level. Otherwise, it would be easy to burn the herbs. Swish! After the yin-yang cauldron appeared, it shook in the air and a suction force burst out from inside. In the next moment, the herbs that had been smelted into liquid by Morong Yu turned into streams of light and rushed into the yin-yang cauldron. This lunatic, he can't be directly fusing them like this, right? Seeing Morong Yu's crazy actions, everyone was shocked. Pill formation was to fuse various herbs according to different proportions and order, and then condense them into a solid pill. Under normal circumstances, the herbs would be fused according to the order. For Morong Yu to fuse them all at once, there was only one result. The cauldron would explode. In other words, the pill refinement would fail. Therefore, when everyone saw Morong Yu's actions, they were shocked. Morong Yu turned a blind eye to all of this. At this moment, his mental strength was divided into thousands of portions and wrapped around thousands of liquid-like herbs. They rushed into the internal space of the yin-yang cauldron. At the same time, streams of soul power gushed out and continuously entered the herbs according to the method that Hichu had taught him. In the blink of an eye, Morong Yu's enormous soul strength was contained within the 1,000 portions of liquid medicinal ingredients. Moreover, this soul power had no consciousness and was extremely pure. The principle of the triple transformation soul condensing pill was to fuse soul power and medicinal power together. Then, combined with the medicinal power, it would exert 1,000 times the effect and heal the injured soul. Condense the pill. After infusing all his mental strength, Morong Yu shouted in his heart. Then, he controlled the herbs to fuse according to the order. During this process, streams of flame of primal chaos constantly spewed out from the yin-yang cauldron and fused all the liquid-like herbs together. Under the control of the flame of primal chaos and Morong Yu, the elixirs quickly fused into a whole. After half a day, all the elixirs had fused into a ball of liquid the size of a fist. The next step was to form the pill. Turning the liquid-like elixirs into solid elixirs was an extremely important step. It was also a step that could easily fail. The raging flame of primal chaos constantly refined this ball of elixirs. This ball of elixirs was constantly solidifying at a speed visible to the naked eye. The size of a fist, the size of half a fist. Break! Suddenly, Morong Yu shouted in his heart. Then, the enormous mental strength that was wrapping around the ball of elixirs slashed down fiercely. With a bang, the ball of elixirs shattered into 10 pieces of elixirs of the same size. However, this was not the time to form the pill. Therefore, Morong Yu continued to use the flame of primal chaos to refine the elixirs. As time passed, the elixirs continued to become rounder and smoother. Finally, they became the size of a longan. From afar, they were sparkling and translucent like transparent pearls. They emitted a strong medicinal fragrance. When Morong Yu caught a whiff of the medicinal pill's fragrance, he knew that his medicinal pill had finally been formed. Therefore, with a thought, these 10 elixirs spat out from the yin-yang cauldron. At the moment when the elixirs appeared, boom! A large 5-colored holy light appeared out of thin air and then soared into the sky. It quickly enveloped the entire square and even spread to the entire true martial temple. 5-colored holy light. At this moment, the entire true martial temple was shocked. The people in the square were even more stunned as they looked at the dazzling five-colored holy light. Chapter 1475. Five-colored holy light. It was actually the five-colored holy light. This was the holy light that was emitted when a supreme artifact and a pill reached a 95% compatibility. Looking at the five-colored holy light that enveloped the entire true martial temple, everyone who saw this holy light was shocked. Some people were so excited that they didn't know what to say. For a moment, they couldn't even speak. Even the powerful inner hall disciples of the true martial sacred hall, the elders, and even the great elders of the true martial sacred hall were alarmed. Five-colored holy light, who was promoted to pill saint in true martial temple. He managed to refine a medicinal pill with 95% compatibility? Waves of incomparably huge divine senses broke through the void from the depths of true martial temple like a tidal wave and spread out. Finally, they landed on the square. These were all existences at the level of true martial temple's pillars. Because of them, true martial temple had always been at its peak. Among them, there was no lack of first-step supreme and half-step supreme existences. The reason why even experts of this level were alarmed was because of the rarity of pill saints. Looking at the entire holy world, including the demon race and the holy race, there were very few people who could become pill saint. Those people were all giants of a region. With a cough, they were powerful existences that could make the holy world tremble. This kind of person, even in the true martial temple, enjoyed the treatment of a grand elder. It was precisely because of this that every alchemist dreamed of becoming a pill saint. However, the chances of becoming a pill saint were too small. Although true martial temple was known as the leader of the 10 great holy lands, there weren't many talents in refining and alchemy. Therefore, there was only one pill saint in true martial temple. And this pill saint was a peerless expert who had become famous a long time ago. And some other holy lands didn't even have a pill saint. One could imagine how high the status of pill saints was in the holy world and how rare they were. Because those who descended were all peerless experts. Therefore, even if it was just a divine sense descending, the aura it emitted was extremely terrifying. For a moment, all the saints in the square felt extremely oppressed. And the stronger one was, the stronger the oppressive feeling. The people who were already quite shocked were suppressed by the huge pressure to the point that it was difficult for them to even speak. This was also the reason why the peerless experts of the true martial temple had restrained their auras to the extreme. Otherwise, if they all released their auras, most of the people in the square would be crushed. Countless divine senses instantly descended, and then directly rushed to Murong Yu, the 10 3-revolutions soul-condensing pills, in front of him. At this moment, Murong Yu was also stunned. For a moment, he did not take back these pills. 10 pills, all of them have achieved a 95% compatibility. A divine sense suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Murong Yu was also a little dizzy at this time. Although Hichu had told him before that if he refined the 3-revolutions soul-condensing pill, the compatibility would definitely not be low, but he did not expect that all of them would reach 95% compatibility. Previously, Murong Yu had estimated that all 10 of his elixirs would reach a 94% compatibility. One must know that there was only a 1/10 difference between 94% and 95%. But it was this 1/10 that blocked the countless alchemy grandmasters in the holy world, preventing them from becoming pill saints. Although the 5-colored holy light is a little faint, all 10 pills have reached a compatibility of 95%. This is definitely an ability that only pill saints have, and it even surpasses the ability of ordinary pill saints. Generally speaking, 10 pills would appear in a pill refinement. 10 pills were counted as a bottle, and as long as a bottle of 60% pills had a compatibility of 95%, then that alchemist could be called a pill saint. For someone like Murong Yu, who had a 95% compatibility rate, Even those pill sages who had been famous for a long time might not necessarily have the ability to do so. Hearing that voice, the people in the square were even more shocked. Jun, Li Chen, and the others' faces were terrifyingly gloomy. Pill saint. It's actually a pill saint. Haha. Jun, with a gloomy face, suddenly laughed crazily. Sun Luan and the others also fell silent. They were suppressing Murong Yu, to the point that a heaven's pride like Murong Yu was forced to betray the true martial temple. But they weren't afraid because they were confident. They all believed that Murong Yu's value was far inferior to theirs. It was precisely because of this that the true martial temple turned a blind eye to their actions. But now that Murong Yu had become a pill saint, his existence was priceless. Even if Jun, Li Chen, and the others were tied together, their value wouldn't be as high as Murong Yu's. It wasn't even 1% of Murong Yu's value. This was the difference between an alchemy grandmaster and a pill saint. It's just a fluke. Maybe he only refined the lowest grade pills. It's just a stroke of luck. When Lin said with some lack of confidence. It was unknown whether he was saying this for Jun and the others or to comfort himself. Yes, it must be like that. Everyone's faces weren't as gloomy as before. What a high-grade pill, what a strong soul force. What kind of pill is this? At this moment, a surprised voice sounded again. It's definitely a high-grade saint pill. How did he refine it? These peerless powerhouses of the true martial temple talked unscrupulously. It was just that every time they spoke, it was like an iron hammer that fiercely pounded on everyone's hearts. Especially Jun and the others, after hearing the words of these peerless powerhouses, their faces turned ashen. TSK, he can refine such a high-grade pill in the profound sage realm. This boy's future is boundless. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to be a disciple of our true martial temple. Boy, what's the name of this pill? Just as Murong Yu was feeling dizzy, a voice suddenly rang out in his ears. 3 revolutions soul-condensing pill. Murong Yu said without hesitation. What? This is the legendary 3 revolutions soul-condensing pill that has been lost for a long time. When Murong Yu said the name of the pill, the powerhouses of the true martial temple instantly fell silent. But in the next moment, a figure appeared in front of Murong Yu out of thin air, looking at Murong Yu with excitement. Murong Yu was startled by the big face that suddenly appeared in front of him. After taking a step back, he looked at the peerless powerhouse who had suddenly appeared in front of him. This was an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion. He should be a supreme elder of the true martial temple. However, this old man was now looking at Murong Yu with excitement. Looking at his excited appearance, Murong Yu felt speechless. Shwa, shwa, shwa. After this old man, one figure after another appeared in front of Murong Yu. Although the auras of these people were very obscure, they didn't seem like powerhouses. But the intense power radiating from their bodies was incomparably dazzling. Murong Yu didn't even dare to look at them. They were all peerless powerhouses, the top powerhouses of the primal chaos ancestral saint. Young man, are these really 3 revolutions soul-condensing pills? A divine pill that can repair the soul? Seeing that Murong Yu didn't answer, the old man who had asked Murong Yu before asked again. He was extremely anxious. Murong Yu had no choice but to nod. Great. You actually have this pill formula? Why don't you give it to me? I promise to satisfy you. No, you're not a disciple of our true martial temple? Join our true martial temple. Well, you can enjoy the treatment of a supreme elder. Hiss, when they heard the old man's words, not only Murong Yu, but even the surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. In other words, if Murong Yu joined the true martial temple, then he would be a supreme elder of the true martial temple. A terrifying existence below one person and above tens of thousands of people. This also reflected the terror of a pill saint. Any ancestral saint's status was equivalent to a supreme elder of the true martial temple. Just thinking about it was terrifying. If I were Morong Yu, I would immediately agree. This thought appeared in many people's minds, but it was just a thought. They were them, Morong Yu was Morong Yu, this couldn't be changed. Morong Yu smiled faintly. In all honesty, this old man's conditions were good. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be tempted. Even he was a little tempted. It's over. Junior brother won't agree to this old man's conditions, right? In the distance, Wu Xinshui said with a dark face. Yu Yangjia and Lu Xiankai were also speechless. They had thought of everything, but they didn't expect the supreme elder of the true martial temple to rope in Morong Yu. Senior, I was also a disciple of the true martial temple before. Oh? You're a disciple of the true martial temple? Hearing Morong Yu's words, the old man was happy at first, but he quickly reacted. What do you mean by before? You're not a disciple of the true martial temple now? Supreme Elder, he has already betrayed the true martial temple and is wanted by the true martial temple. He's also wanted by our true martial temple. He's now a disciple of the unbroken path. The Holy Heavens Elder finally found an opportunity to speak and quickly interjected. Betrayed the true martial temple? Kid, is this true? You're the first disciple who dares to betray the true martial temple. Tell me what's going on. The old man wasn't a fool. He definitely knew that there was something fishy going on. In other words, he pitted Morong Yu. It's nothing. Maybe I'm too outstanding and some people are jealous. If I didn't escape from the true martial temple, I might have already been killed by some people. Junior appreciates Senior's good intentions. Now that I'm a disciple of the unbroken path has treated me very well. I won't join other sections. Morong Yu bowed to the old man and said with a resolute expression. How preposterous! Who's suppressing you? Such a talent has actually been lost. The old man was furious. He turned to the Holy Heaven Elder and shouted, What's going on? Tell me in detail. Under the Supreme Elder's murderous gaze, the Holy Heaven Elder, who had a high position in the true martial temple, instantly broke out in a cold sweat. Chapter 1476. Although the Holy Heavens Elder had a high status in the true martial temple, he was far inferior to the Grand Elders. Therefore, he broke out in cold sweat when the old man looked at him. However, even though he knew it was bad, he still told the old man everything about Morong Yu. How dare you? You're infuriating me. You're all trash. The true martial temple will decline one day in your hands. After hearing this, the old man almost exploded with anger. However, he also knew that it wasn't the right time to deal with this matter. After all, he couldn't wash his dirty linen in public. After scolding the Holy Heavens Elder and the others, he looked at Morong Yu. When he looked at Morong Yu, the gloominess on his face disappeared and was replaced with a smile. Young man, I won't force you. However, my words will always be effective on you. The true martial temple's doors will always be open to you. Are you selling the 3 revolutions soul condensing pill? The true martial temple's doors would always be open to Morong Yu. Now that they knew about Morong Yu's potential, which sect wouldn't want to open their doors to Morong Yu? However, Morong Yu wouldn't walk through their doors. The true martial temple's people were probably regretting it now. Especially the elders, they were probably regretting it so much that their intestines were turning green. Hearing that, Morong Yu merely shook his head at the old man and grinned. This old man is being rude. How can I sell such a priceless treasure? The old man laughed and didn't blame Morong Yu. After all, if it was him, he wouldn't sell the 3 revolutions soul condensing pills formula either. Although Morong Yu wouldn't join the true martial temple, he wouldn't sell the pill formula to him. However, the old man didn't give up. Instead, he asked, Can you sell one of these pills to me? Don't worry, I won't let you suffer a loss. I'll use an ancestral artifact to exchange for 1 pill. Hiss, 1 pill for an ancestral artifact? Everyone around him sucked in a breath of cold air. Medicinal pills were different from saint artifact. After buying the sacred artifact, he could also study the pinnacle array formations inside. However, it was impossible to study the compatibility of the pills. Of course, it was also possible to deduce the pill formula from the pill. However, the success rate of reverse deduction was almost zero. The higher the grade of the pill, the harder it was to reverse engineer the pill recipe. Even if he knew all the herbs needed to refine it, it was still the same. The herbs, the ratio of the herbs, the order of fusion, the refining method, and so on were all essential. That was why the Peerless Palace had used 2 primal chaos ancestral artifacts to exchange for Murong Yu's supreme saint artifact. Now, the 3 revolutions soul condensing pill was only worth 2 ancestral artifacts. Sure. Before the old man could even finish his words, Murong Yu had already agreed to it without hesitation. The old man, who had prepared a lot of excuses, was stunned when he agreed so readily. However, he quickly came to his senses. With a flip of his hand, 2 ancestral artifacts appeared in his palm. Since that's the case, let's trade. As he spoke, he had already grabbed a pill in his hand and handed the 2 ancestral artifacts to Murong Yu. In the next moment, his figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. It was as if he was afraid that Murong Yu would go back on his word. It was Murong Yu's turn to be stunned by the old man's speed. Why would he go back on his word? The 3 revolutions soul condensing pill was not something that could be refined as one wished. Even if Murong Yu had announced the pill formula, there were not many people in the holy world who could successfully refine it. Because the most basic condition for refining this pill was that the alchemist had to be a soul saint. Otherwise, even if the refinement was successful, it would not have the effect of condensing one's soul. Murong Yu, our Peerless Palace also needs a 3 revolutions soul condensing pill. After the old man from the true martial temple left, the powerful divine senses that lingered around Murong Yu also retreated like the tide. At this moment, the elders of the 10 sacred grounds and the other super forces gathered around, all of them looking at Murong Yu with burning gazes. The Peerless Palace's elder Xuanning said directly. However, although she said so, she did not take out any ancestral artifact. Because although she was an elder of the Peerless Palace, her status was far inferior to the true Martial Temple's Grand Elders. The true Martial Temple's Grand Elders could casually take out 2 ancestral artifacts, but she could not. Therefore, she wanted to trade like before. No problem, I will leave a pill for you. However, it will still be 2 ancestral artifacts. Murong Yu smiled and glanced at the people around him. Murong Yu, our Purple Thunder Hall also needs a 3 revolutions soul condensing pill. The elder from the Purple Thunder Hall immediately became anxious and hurriedly said to Murong Yu, "Our Sky King Palace also needs one." After Elder Xuanning, the 10 sacred grounds and the other super forces all wanted a 3 revolutions soul condensing pill. Regarding this, Murong Yu did not refuse. He smiled and looked at the crowd. Everyone, other than the one I gave to Elder Xuanning, I still have 8 3 revolutions soul condensing pills. However, I will not leave any of them for any of you. Hearing this, the faces of the elders from the Purple Thunder Hall and Sky King Palace couldn't help but change. As the saying goes, the rarer something is, the more valuable it is. There are only 8 3 revolutions soul condensing pills, and everyone wants one. Then there is no other way. The one who offers the highest price will get the pill. Yes, before the martial competition, I will not leave the true martial temple. As for who the pill belongs to, that will be up to you. Murong Yu said with a smile. It's just that his smile was very hateful in the eyes of the 8 sacred grounds. This was raising the price on the spot. But they had no choice but to accept it. At this time, many of the elders regretted, if I had known earlier, I would have built a good relationship with Murong Yu. Just like Elder Schwinning, I could have gotten one pill directly. There was no need to fight at all. This pill, our Purple Thunder Hall must have it. The elder from the Purple Thunder Hall said firmly, and at the same time, his figure flashed and disappeared. Then, some of the other elders also left, presumably to go back and prepare the ancestral artifact. Not long after, aside from Elder Schwinning, everyone else had left Morong Yu's side. Morong Yu, thank you. Elder Schwinning walked up and expressed her gratitude to Morong Yu. Morong Yu grinned, don't thank me. If you didn't have the ancestral artifact, I wouldn't have given you the pill for free. Elder Schwinning smiled faintly. Morong Yu, the doors of our peerless palace will always be open to you. Moreover, our paragon peerless may accept a disciple. With your talent, it's very likely that you will become his disciple. If you can join the peerless palace. At this point, Elder Schwinning didn't continue, but her meaning was very clear. Morong Yu's body shook violently, and he looked at Elder Schwinning with a strange expression. Elder Schwinning merely nodded at him before her figure flashed and disappeared from Morong Yu's line of sight, leaving behind only a fragrant wind that lingered around him. Paragon Peerless wants to accept a disciple? Elder Schwinning's meaning was very clear. If Morong Yu joined the Peerless Palace, it was very likely that he would become Paragon Peerless disciple. Paragon Peerless disciple. Even if he was only a profound sage, he could do whatever he wanted in the holy world. Who would dare to provoke Paragon Peerless? However, Morong Yu's goal wasn't just the primal chaos ancestor sage or Paragon Peerless, but the primal chaos controller that surpassed the sovereign realm. Moreover, he couldn't cultivate other techniques, and with the monstrous Hichu's guidance, he didn't need a master at all. But even if he didn't need one, others did. It's said that Paragon Peerless is a woman, and her disciples should all be women. If Meng Qing and the others can become Paragon Peerless disciple, Morong Yu thought to himself, and unknowingly walked back to the seats of the infernal affairs. Meng Qing and the others are still a little weak. After this matter, I'll think of a way to raise their cultivation. Then I'll send them to the Peerless Palace. I wonder if the Peerless Palace is still accepting disciples. Morong Yu thought to himself and made up his mind. Junior brother, what are you thinking about? What did the beautiful elder of the Peerless Palace say to you? At this moment, Lu Xiankai's or Wu Xinshui's voice sounded in Morong Yu's ears. Because Elder Schwenning had been communicating with Morong Yu through telepathy, others didn't know what they were talking about. If I join the Peerless Palace, there's a chance I can become Paragon Peerless disciple. Morong Yu calmly replied. Hearing this, Yu Yangjia and the other two looked at each other. Being a disciple of Paragon Peerless was much higher in status than being a disciple of the Infernal Affairs. Although the Infernal Affairs was powerful, the Infernal Affairs sect master was also extremely powerful. But after all, he wasn't a paragon. Junior brother, you agree? Wu Xinshui looked at Morong Yu and asked nervously. Being a disciple of Paragon Peerless was extremely tempting. In the entire holy world, there weren't many people who could resist this huge temptation. Looking at the nervous faces of Lu Xiankai and the other two, Morong Yu couldn't help but laugh and shook his head. No. I'm not interested in becoming a disciple of Paragon Peerless. However, I plan to send my women to try. As he spoke, he explained his plan. That's good too. If one of your women becomes a disciple of Paragon Peerless, then your status will be even higher. In the future, those who want to touch your women will have to think twice. Seeing that Morong Yu wasn't tempted, Yu Yangjia and the other two let out a sigh of relief. Thus, they began to give Morong Yu ideas. Yu Yangjia and the other two even said that they would help Morong Yu increase the strength of Yu Mengqing and the others, so that they would have a higher chance of joining the Peerless Palace. As they spoke, they had already returned to the mountain, where they were temporarily staying in the true martial temple. 3 senior brothers, no, there will be a fierce battle in the future. You all should go and rest. Strive to be first. Our infernal affairs will be the big winner of this exchange. Murong Yu said in a deep voice, his face full of confidence. Chapter 1477. There were a total of 3 events in the exchange between the 10 sacred lands: pill refinement, artifact forging, and martial arts. Murong Yu was already the champion of pill refinement and artifact forging. Strictly speaking, the infernal agency, Murong Yu, was already the biggest winner. Obtaining the Heavenspan Vitality Pill and Tai Heavenspan Vitality Pill was secondary. The most important thing was that Murong Yu's reputation had risen. Some of the humans in the sacred world knew that Murong Yu was wanted by the true martial temple because he had betrayed them. But now, everyone knew of his potential in artifact forging and pill refinement. In particular, he had refined the triple transformation soul condensing pill with a 95% compatibility rate. His reputation had skyrocketed, and his status had risen along with it. After this exchange, the vast majority of the humans in the sacred world would know of his existence. Moreover, he had set things right and become a hot existence. In the past, there might have been people who wanted to make a move against him because he was wanted by the true martial temple in order to obtain reward. But now, there were definitely not many people who would do that. On the contrary, there would be even more people who wanted to befriend him. Murong Yu wasn't just a pill sage. He might even be a weapon sage. Moreover, with his identity as a disciple of the infernal agency, no one dared to underestimate him anymore. In reality, Murong Yu was also a medicine sage. It was just that he hadn't displayed this ability yet. However, Murong Yu thought that since he had already welcomed 2 champions, it was only natural that he would be crowned with glory. He would also take the title of champion of the martial arts competition. Murong Yu was participating in the martial arts competition for the true martial temple's outer palace disciples. It was a competition between imperishable realm cultivators and ancient sages. Yu Yangjia and the others were participating in the competition between sage ruler and primal chaos ancestor sage. As for the competition between servant disciples, the infernal agency couldn't possibly win the championship. It couldn't be helped. The weakest member of the infernal agency was Murong Yu. However, Murong Yu was already in the imperishable realm. He couldn't possibly participate in a lower-level competition. In the following time, Yu Yangjia and the other 2 made preparations. And after the alchemy conference, even more people wanted to befriend Murong Yu. Therefore, when Murong Yu and the other 3 returned to the mountain peak, many people came to visit them. However, at this time, Murong Yu and the other 3 did not appear. Therefore, those people were only given the cold shoulder and went back. There is no lack of geniuses in the 10 great holy lands and other great powers who are capable of surpassing their cultivation realms. Although I have the ability to compete with a first-level holy king, my level is too low. In Hichu Luoshu, Murong Yu closed his eyes and pondered. Murong Yu's biggest disadvantage was his own cultivation level, although he had a strength that exceeded his own by 2 realms. However, his opponents this time were quite a few pinnacle ancient sages. And if those people also had the ability to cross realms to kill enemies, Murong Yu would not be a match for them. Let's increase our strength first. Murong Yu's eyes flashed, and then 2 ancestral artifacts and 1 chaos ancestral artifact appeared in front of him. Murong Yu had reached the profound sage realm, and sacred artifacts were no longer of any use to him. He had to refine sacred artifacts in order to continue to increase his realm. But where did he have any sacred artifacts? Therefore, if he wanted to increase his strength, he could only refine ancestral artifact. An ordinary sacred artifact was equivalent to 10 ordinary sacred artifacts. Although it was a bit of a waste to refine ancestral artifacts now, Murong Yu had no other choice. He did not want to be defeated in the arena. He was determined to get the triple transformation Earth Mystery Pill. He opened his mouth and swallowed an ancestral artifact. Chaos Furnace, refine it for me, Murong Yu shouted in his heart. Suddenly, the Chaos Furnace shook slightly, and the indestructible ancestral artifact instantly disintegrated, turning into the most primitive power. It began to pour into Murong Yu's body like a torrent. Rumble. The power in Murong Yu's body began to rapidly increase at a speed visible to the naked eye. But soon, before he could break through, the power of the ancestral artifact had been completely swallowed by him. It was not that the ancestral artifact was too weak, but that the power Murong Yu needed was too terrifying. It should be known that an ancestral artifact was equivalent to 10 sacred artifacts. In other words, 10 sacred artifacts were unable to raise Murong Yu's realm from the first stage to the second stage. It should be known that when Murong Yu was in the undead realm, he had only consumed 20 sacred artifacts to raise his realm from the 4th stage to the 5th stage. Now, he was only in the profound sage realm. If he reached the ancient sage realm, wouldn't he have to swallow hundreds of ancestral artifacts to raise his realm? Just thinking about it made Murong Yu feel terrified. This was the price he had to pay. Who asked his strength to be so abnormal, exceeding his own by 2 realms? Everything had a price. Murong Yu could only grit his teeth and endure, unless he wanted to be stuck in this realm for the rest of his life. Without any hesitation, Murong Yu swallowed the second ancestral artifact and smelted it in an instant. Feeling the power rushing into his body like a flood, Murong Yu did not hesitate. He opened his mouth and swallowed the remaining primal chaos ancestral artifact, smelting it. Bang. Bang. When an ancestral artifact was smelted, especially when it was a primal chaos ancestral artifact, the power it contained was like a storm. In an instant, Murong Yu broke through the barrier of his realm. After 2 muffled sounds, Murong Yu's realm broke through 2 realms in one go, breaking through from the 1st stage to the 3rd stage. His strength had skyrocketed. Moreover, this did not stop there. His realm was still breaking through. After pausing for a moment, his body trembled once more. With a dull sound, Murong Yu's cultivation had broken through to the 4th level profound sage realm. After that, there was no more after that. Murong Yu's realm had stopped rising. The power of an ancestral artifact was 10 times that of a saint-grade artifact, and the power of a primal chaos ancestral artifact was 10 times that of an ancestral artifact. However, that was all. It only raised Murong Yu's realm from the 1st stage to the 4th stage, and it did not even break through to the 5th stage. This was too terrifying. With a strength 2 realms higher than his own, Murong Yu's current strength was comparable to a 4th stage Saint King. In addition to his various powerful battle skills and treasures, mid-level Saint Kings could not do anything to him. Coupled with his soul attack and the power of time, Murong Yu was confident that he could kill a 5th stage Saint King, or even a 6th stage Saint King. However, it would be difficult to kill a high-level Saint King unless he launched a surprise attack. However, it would be difficult for a high-level Saint King to kill him. There's still one more primal chaos ancestral artifact. If I refine it, I should be able to raise my strength to the 5th or 6th stage saint, Murong Yu thought. The peerless saint-grade artifact that he had refined was exchanged with 2 primal chaos ancestral artifacts by the unparalleled palace. He had only refined one of them. Forget it. My ability in alchemy and weapon refinement has already caused people to hate me. Moreover, I've raised my strength from the peak of the undead stage to the 5th stage saint in just a month. If I continue to increase my strength, I'm afraid those old monsters will make a move to kill me. When the time comes, I'll act according to the circumstances. If I can't win the championship with this strength, it won't be too late to break through then. Murong Yu decided not to continue increasing his realm. After all, there were too many examples of the tallest tree in the forest being destroyed by the wind. If he continued to defy the world, He might be captured by the old monsters of other forces as soon as he left the true martial temple. He might even be killed directly. He did not want to get into trouble. However, although he could not increase his realm, he could still improve his other battle skills. Murong Yu did not care about the primal chaos celestial records for the time being. What he was mainly interested in now was his speed and offensive ability. Bing formula and Do formula. The more powerful the Bing formula, the more abnormal Murong Yu's speed would be. Currently, the Bing formula had only reached the 4th stage. The appearance of the demon wings allowed Murong Yu's speed to exceed his own by 2 large realms. It was comparable to the speed of a peak Saint King, and even exceeded it. The Do formula was also at the 4th stage, and could increase his strength by 2 large realms. Speaking of the Do formula, Murong Yu felt very strange. It was as if the Do formula had become one with him. Even if he did not use the Do formula, Murong Yu's strength exceeded his own by 2 large realms. Even if he used it, Murong Yu's combat strength would only increase by a little. It was better than nothing. However, if he did not have the Do formula, Murong Yu felt that his combat strength would not be as abnormal as it was now. I wonder if the Do formula will allow me to directly exceed my combat strength by 3 large realms if I reach the 5th stage? Murong Yu thought to himself. The Zai formula could allow Murong Yu to directly travel through the void. If the Bing formula and the Zai formula were combined, the effect would far surpass just one of the two. It would even surpass the result of 1 + 1 = 2. The formation formula was extremely useful for stealth and sneak attacks and escape. The Zhe formula was used to cultivate the soul. The Lai formula was used to control time. Murong Yu had already obtained 6 words of the 9 syllables formula, and only the Lin, Jie and Qian characters were left. However, Murong Yu did not know where these 3 words were. Moreover, not to mention these 3 words, even if he obtained these words, it would be extremely difficult to improve them. After all, with each word improvement, Murong Yu's combat strength would directly double, or even multiply several times. However, just because it was difficult to improve, it did not mean that there was no need to cultivate. In the following time, Murong Yu increased the time acceleration ability of the Hichu Luoshu to the limit and began to cultivate various combat skills, including the 9 syllables formula. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed in the outside world. On this day, Murong Yu stepped out of the Hichu Luoshu. His face was expressionless, and no one could see any changes. However, the eyes of Yu Yangjia and the other 2 who had been waiting for him in the hall lit up. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.